All right, we are live again. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you're located at whatever time you're listening in. So, thanks for tuning in again. Really thrilled today to have Pierre Corbin with me. Hey, Pierre, how are you doing?
Hey, Leon. Yeah, all good, all good, all good. How about you?
Excellent. Bit hot here, but I'll survive. And yeah, I'm very thrilled to have you because you're the founder of Flash. And today we'll take a deep dive and um, learn more about you and your insights. Go deep into your work. So yeah, very excited for this, and hope to learn many lessons. And especially for those of you who build things, we will try and go technical and go deep and learn about the stack that you're using at Flash and all the lessons, all the good stuff. Yeah, Pierre, maybe to throw the ball at you a little bit here. In the beginning, it's good to teaser people a little bit, right? So why should people stick around and watch the stream till the end?
Yeah, well, I mean, generally speaking, we're going to be talking about building on Lightning, building with Noster. I mean, I'm going to share a lot of how I build right now, how we build Flash, and of course, how we're leveling it up now, but also how literally anyone can do it. I think the technology now is becoming very easy compared to what it used to be. You used to need to build a wallet in order to build a use case. Now you can actually build a use case without needing to build a wallet, and you can just focus on the software part of things without needing to worry too much on the how Lightning works in the background and stuff. So yeah, so I think we're going to go deep dive into this, learn about Flash, but learn about the whole tech that we're using. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to share about this because I'm very passionate about it.
Excellent. Yeah, that already sounds really fascinating. That you don't need a wallet anymore when you build on Bitcoin, or you can just plug and play, put the pieces, put the Lego bricks together, and build something awesome. So really excited. So yeah, we'll try and squeeze you out today and get as much detail as possible. And obviously, that's all for you, esteemed listeners. So if you're listening right now, please help us a little bit and share it. I see like a couple people have already joined in. Of course, there will be more coming in. But if you want, please help us with a share. We would really appreciate that, and we really want to make sure that you get the most value here for the time you stay with us. So whether you're curious about Bitcoin and Lightning, or you're perhaps an investor or analyst, or if you're a developer or builder in the space, jump on board, make yourself comfortable. We'll definitely go for for a ride here for a bit of time. And last but not least, give us a follow here. There's a QR code on top, lightning.news, and Pierre's startup is Flash. It's paywithflash.com if you want to check it out. And then there's also on Twitter, I think you guys are pay and then W Flash, so pay the Flash.
Yeah, that's right.
But you'll find it.
Big Flash.
And don't confuse with the Jamaican Flash, which probably wears the same brand, the same name. Also doing somewhat similar stuff on Lightning, also cool stuff to check out. But yeah, Pay with Flash, the payment platform. So I think it's for people who don't know, it's interesting to kind of hear a bit about your backstory. So you briefly worked in consulting, which I think is interesting. You had you worked with larger tech corporations there, and also did crypto trading. So and then eventually went Bitcoin only, and
Mhm.
made a documentary movie. So maybe you could describe a little bit, just in a nutshell, your way that led to the point where you are now.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, I was always very interested in just tech. I mean, I studied finance and stuff, but during my studies, I just learned how to program, and that's something that I mean, I just kind of, I mean, it was very cool. I always had like this feeling that I was a creative person, but never found a way to like actually express this creativity. And programming was the lowest effort solution I had to be able to express this creativity. And so I started learning how to program, and after my studies, while I started a corporate job, I was doing some pretty, I guess, kind of boring process kind of work. But of course, where there's boring and processes, well, there's opportunity for automations. And so, I would just automate my work, automate the work of my teammates. And little by little just improved my programming skills, but also got my bosses to make me want to do more of this because I would save everyone some time, as opposed to just do my normal 9 to 5.
It's just a
And
fun time to not get fired, right? The
yeah. Yeah, no, but like really there, because a lot of stuff in is still done with like Excel in like corporations. And Excel, I mean, Excel has VBA. It's very easy to like program with it. Actually, it's got a very nice console. So yeah, I just started learning that. I mean, nowadays, yeah, I didn't have ChatGPT at the time. It was just working with Stack Overflow and stuff, trying to figure it out. Now it would be just so freaking easy. Yeah, but so that's the kind of stuff I was doing, and little by little just moved on to like some bigger projects, project management, yeah, and just standards and like running projects at bigger scale. And yeah, then I moved on to working at Accenture. So I was a management consultant. I did this for 2 3 years, which was, I mean, learn a lot. You learn a lot of client facing skills, learn a lot of technical stuff, and working kind of higher level. I worked with clients like Airbus, some insurance, in Germany actually. I was in Berlin. I would travel, and my last project was at Microsoft, doing some of their accounting services. And yeah, 2 weeks in, I had to quit, and the reason for it is because I was obsessing over Bitcoin. So as you said, yeah, some crypto trading. I got into crypto in 2017. The very first coin I bought was Ethereum, and just went through like my big shitcoining period. Then, of course, the market dropped. I lost a bunch of money, just the inexperienced crypto trader, and I mean, didn't lose that much money. It's more the gains that I had. I pretty much lost all of it. And there was crypto winter. Didn't really care too much about it, but I got into Bitcoin at that moment, and that's when I understood that, yeah, crypto doesn't really make sense. Like, if in the end the only thing that matters is Bitcoin, if it's the only thing I want to hold in my portfolio, well, then even the technological side of other crypto projects, where I did like go deep down and like try to learn, how to build on Solidity. So that's the Ethereum blockchain's programming network. Um, I just realized, like, what's the point? Because anyway, I need to do some typical software development that connects to like traditional databases, and that's all to like automate some stuff with money that is useless compared to Bitcoin. So I was like, okay, screw that. That's really not something I should spend my time on. And Bitcoin is the way and what I should work on. So yeah, that's kind of like the path. And of course, there's the film, as you mentioned. In fact, we met a couple months after I released the film, and yeah, just the first thing I wanted to do was, work in Bitcoin. What does that mean? Like, it's hard to find your place in a world that feels so technical, where the only thing that can be done in Bitcoin is be a core developer. That's literally how I felt, when I quit my job and wanted to work in Bitcoin. Yeah, but I quickly realized there's huge opportunity. I mean, the world of Bitcoiners keeps on growing. There's more and more things that can be done, more and more people that are coming in, and each person that comes in has their own perspective that they can share with others. So, for example, I have the consulting background. Well, then I know how to speak in a language that will resonate with consultants. Well, then there's just the different opportunities that come there, and that's when I did, of course, my film. Was always very interested in filmmaking. I did a film course during my studies as well, a 6 month film course, and yeah, even as a consultant, I did a lot of creating visuals and animating them and recording stuff that was for Airbus, like for some of their quality processes. So when I thought I could do a documentary, well, I knew I had the skills for it anyway, and so I embarked on this 7 month journey of making a freaking film, which worked out very well. Of course, it's one of the most viewed Bitcoin documentaries on YouTube now. It's at over 2 million views. Last I checked was a few months ago. I I guess it's getting closer to 2.5 million views, and yeah, and that's kind of the journey into Bitcoin. Then of course, the amount of stuff you do once you're in this entrepreneur vibe. I think, Leo, you know this better than me. Even you just end up doing a lot of things, and just try to touch it, every aspect of Bitcoin, because every aspect is interesting, and you want to be able to understand and learn it some more, right?
Yeah, total disaster. I agree. Since the Bitcoin Film Fest is coming up soon, maybe you wanna share real quick the key dates there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's a good point. So the
And
Bitcoin
also,
Film
I think
Fest.
people may
Yeah,
not even know the film, so the title of the film where they can watch it.
yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, so my film is called The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. It's on YouTube. It's available in a bunch of different languages, and I don't know, it's available in English and Spanish and Brazilian and Russian, and yeah, there's also a bunch of subtitles there. So just search for The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin, and you can find it in your preferred language. And yeah, so actually, I made this film. I joined the Polish Bitcoin community here, and I met Tomek, that is the co-founder of the Bitcoin Film Fest, with me, and he's like big in organizing events. He just that's like he's really good at that. And he was organizing a conference, and he thought, you know what, let's add like some Bitcoin stuff. Let's make a screening of your film. And then one day he said, you know what, let's make a film festival. And so this year we've got the third edition of the Bitcoin Film Fest. It's in Warsaw, Poland. It's in May 23rd to 25th, so the last weekend of May. And yeah, it's good. This one is going to be, of course, showing some long feature films, but it's going to have a big focus on short films as well, and on advertisements in the Bitcoin space. So I think it'll be an interesting one. It's all about just Bitcoin culture, spreading education in a much more casual way, essentially, unlike a Bitcoin conference where it's very business. And it can be a bit, even scary for someone that isn't part of the space to join. Well, here it's really, a matter of enjoying the culture, meeting people, watching films, and educating yourself through that. So that's, yeah, May 23rd, 25th.
Yeah, I heard many good things about that event, and it's in Warsaw.
Yeah, that's right, Warsaw,
So
Poland. And yeah, like the past editions, I mean, last year was pretty crazy because there was the halving. We timed the Bitcoin Film Fest right at the time of the halving. And that was, yeah, just great because everyone was partying and no, everyone was just having a good time.
yeah, yeah. No, I do believe that this type of event is particularly great for people that are very new to Bitcoin and really just want to catch the vibe a little bit, know what type of people there are, because I think it might be a bit uncomfortable at start if you're really like completely new, right? To go to a meetup or a technical conference where it just there's a huge gap, and then I think film really um, editors or producers really try and create stories to explain things more intuitively, right? So I think that's great. So definitely, Pierre, you've spent a good amount of time in the Bitcoin space and built a bunch of different things and have just so much experience and so many different things that come together here. But let's focus a little bit on Flash and to transition over here. So, you were in, before you came to Bitcoin, you were in consulting and you said you're a software developer essentially. So I always like, the Steve Jobs keynote where he said, the dots connect always looking backwards. So you may have learned or picked up skills on the way that now come in handy and useful. So um, when you look back, is there something particular that a thing or skill outside of Bitcoin that really is something that's helping you right now?
Yeah, I think understanding just how to run companies essentially is I think that yeah, I guess there's two skills. So of course, having worked in a corporate environment and in software development allows me to have two side of things. So it allows to understand, how to run a company thinking big, because we have to be able to think, and prepare Flash for the next steps to make sure that our company grows with the ambitions that we have for Flash. But at the same time, having worked in software and software development and in managing projects in software development allows to be focused on just how to manage a team that is building things. So I think these two things are yeah, nice. And generally speaking, also having been a consultant, that teaches you a lot, because when you're a consultant, even in a structure like Accenture, you have interviews to join projects, and so you will have interviews with the person that runs the project for, in this case I was working at Accenture, but also the person on the client side that is actually going to choose, do we want to take this consultant or not. And you really have to like just know how to speak, how to sell yourself. You have to, if you don't know a skill, you have to pretend that you know it, be able to have a conversation that shows that you know it. And the moment they select you, well, you need to make sure that you know this skill, right? So it's just very fast. You need to be able to, yeah, adapt very quickly and learn very quickly. And this, I think, I wouldn't have learned it this way had it not been for my consultant years, because it's I think, yeah, it's just very it's true about, yeah, consulting. Yeah, you stay on a project up to 18 months, like maximum, and I never stayed 18 months on one of these projects. It was maximum 6 months. And so, you every single time is going to be a different thing. Literally, I went from doing some deep backend Python automations for big data to doing more communications for an airline company, to then, going to an insurance company. Like, there's just, yeah, a big variety of stuff that you need to do, and you need to be one hell of an expert, because that's why the client pays you. It's because you are the expert. And so if you're not the expert, you have to pretend that you are, and then you have to become the expert as quickly as possible. And I think this is like quite a big skill that allows to just be flexible and just address every problem, and gives, I think, one thing that is very important for entrepreneurs is just, there's always a way, essentially. There's always a way to do thing. If there's a problem, you can fix it. And I think, like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, it's the kind of drive that we need to be able to live with as entrepreneurs. And it's good that there are some corporate jobs that can still teach you this, at least, the first kind of level approach to it.
Yeah, right. And very fascinating. And I think this rapid pace of adaptation, right, that's present now more than ever, perhaps. And I guess you have to combine it with a long term vision, but also adapt quickly. And that's true for a small
Yeah.
company as much as for a large organization.
Yeah, so I think it's I mean, of course, it's more true even for smaller companies, because the thing is, big companies work with big companies, so they're like on their own kind of level, that is just slow all around, right? And so it's yeah, it's they have more space to adapt, because if you do B2B, well, then your customers, they're going to take a lot of time to adapt. And even in the consulting world, if your client adapts, is because you're helping him adapt, right? So everything just kind of goes slower, but it has to. I mean, that's normal. As organizations get bigger, things just are developed slower. Um, in the startup world, though, that's, yeah, it's interesting now, because, of course, especially, like, we've been working with my co-founder Hugo. We've been working on Flash for, well, 2 years now, and it wasn't Flash at the start. It was, completely different things, and that's kind of the point. You need to change, you need to pivot, you need to do other things, and you need to find out where, like, you actually get some traction and what is worth pushing some more. And the difficulty today is that it's extremely easy to build things, and it becomes easier and easier to build things, because there's a lot of AI tools that allow to do it very quickly, very efficiently. And they come with their own set of issues, and it doesn't allow you to build a production ready application directly, but you can do MVP. And MVP is what you need to actually try things out, show that there's value in something, and then it's about showing that you are a person and a team that is worth spending time in. That's, if you want to, like, go and raise some money for certain things, which is not always needed, right? I think in the case of Flash, we needed to raise money, simply because of the tech heavy things that we're working on, that have this long-term vision. So, yeah, you need to be able to balance the FOMO and the vision that you have. And there's a lot of FOMO nowadays, when you see what everyone is just vibe coding. That's kind of the trend on Twitter nowadays, and the stuff that can be done. But and it's true in the Bitcoin industry as well. There's a lot of things that are just projects. It's not businesses, and that's where we can make a difference as well, because especially for B2B, which is our target, you can't rely on a project in order to transition your business to a Bitcoin standard. It has to be, you have to work with proper businesses that are going to be there, that are well funded, have the funds to, like, improve their product and serve you properly.
Yeah, and maybe there's also a bunch of mistakes people make along the way. So I was wondering, during that time, I think 2016 17, 18, there was a lot of hype around blockchain tokenization. I
Yeah,
think that has decreased at least a little bit. I heard another person saying, I think, that there's still 100 people working at JP on some sort of private blockchains. um,
yeah,
Maybe you could share a little bit about your experience there, because I think still a lot of people I see, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, they want to build in Web3, they want to build on blockchain. They have ideas for all kinds of applications, sometimes also related to payments, and then I guess also for indie hackers or entrepreneurs. Like, they go into the space new and they don't really know where to start, so they're like looking for what's the right blockchain. And they have
mm,
Solana, they have Cardano to choose, and Ethereum even. So you kind of went through that, I think, research phase, right? Maybe you share a little bit, like, what do you think, is Ethereum still good to build projects or businesses on top, or is there better stuff?
yeah. Well, I think you know my answer for that, but but no. Generally speaking, I think the thing is that the developer communities of crypto projects are really good. They're like it feels it's tech. When you think of Bitcoin, it doesn't feel like tech. Essentially, like that's not the image that is projected by the Bitcoin community, which I mean, which is fine. It's for I think the right reasons. Um, but the crypto space is really good at that. They have strong developer communities. They have great looking websites and documentations and all this kind of stuff. There's I think a lot of it, of course, is due to the fact that I mean, you can literally print your own money, right? So of course, you can print your own money, make a nice looking website, promote it, and all of a sudden everyone's a millionaire. So obviously, you have money to be able to build a bunch of stuff. But it's also unregistered securities. Like that's a whole topic we could go down. But generally speaking, I think that's why, from a developer experience perspective, they're winning. But it's I think a lot of it is temporary and short sighted. Like a lot of this was possible because of the lack of regulation that there was. I think now we're entering a space where regulation is coming, and the issue is. I think the big issue is around custody, and of course, and you see it, of course, in the Bitcoin space too, but more so in the crypto space, simply because of the ethos and the philosophy that the Bitcoin industry is trying to follow, that the crypto isn't necessarily trying to follow, and it's around the custody of funds. And um, most people don't think of custody day to day because they just don't care. I mean, we're just so used to the fact that someone else holds our money, someone else is responsible for our money, that we just don't think about it, right? It's like, yeah, I got my money in the bank. And most people, even, they don't think about it twice. They've got the money in the bank. It doesn't mean to them that the money belongs to the bank. Like they're like, it's a completely, like, they don't associate these two concepts, which I think is pretty interesting. But to be fair, I was the same before I got deeper into Bitcoin, right? So it's all through education. um, yeah, and the fact is that with regulations coming in, well, all of these custodial solutions, I mean, they're gonna have to die off. I mean, in the EU, for example, and I think it's anyway a format to some extent that will be copied around the world, because it makes sense. Like, if someone holds my money, I don't want it to be some developer. I don't know who it is. Like, I'd rather use the self-custodial solutions where I am responsible for my money. Or if I will use a custodial solution, well, then it should be properly regulated to make sure that this person doesn't run away with my money. And the EU has these regulations now in place. They're still not enforced, but this is coming, like in the next 12 months. And we know the US is going to come with regulations. There's more and more regulations popping around the world, and I think the main issue that they're going to be looking at is the custodial side of things. And I think, for this, yeah, a lot of the crypto projects are going to die because they're just not compatible with these new regulations. Because building in self custody is hard. It's really hard, and it's one thing that Bitcoiners managed to do very well. And I think now the technology in Bitcoin is also just becoming easier to build these kind of things. So, it's always a trade-off as to what is more convenient and where can I make a shit ton of money as a developer. Well, yeah, that's if you go to crypto. But if you want to do things properly and for the long term, well, that's where you need to think of Bitcoin. Especially that, I mean, come on, even if you create your own coin, pump it, and you're a millionaire. Like, that's not going to last forever. And most people, they end up moving into Bitcoin because they see that the only thing that really matters is Bitcoin, right? So you might as well just build in that environment, because you build it, if you build in the environment of Bitcoin, if you have the right product, you follow the right ethos, and you do this smart with a long-term vision, well, then you're going to be there for when all of these guys realize, actually, we should build on Bitcoin, let's transition. Well, you're going to be there. They will be your users, they will be your customers. And that's true from the people from the crypto world, but it's also true of just the rest of the planet. I mean, there's what, like, I think less than 5% of the world that owns crypto today. Bitcoin is like 1%. I mean, yeah, all of these guys, they're going to come over little by little. And I mean, you want to be in that space. It's going to take years, but these kind of shifts takes years. But if you do it smart with a long-term vision, yeah, you're gonna earn a lot more than if you just focus on some short-term crypto stuff.
Yeah, I think that shift is already starting now, right? That more and more crypto projects are, trying to align with Bitcoin, or somehow bridge to Bitcoin. I mean, in the Bitcoin space, people call that Bitcoin affinity scam. So it's still very blurry, the lines, and you kind of have to figure out really what's what's really useful. Ultimately, Bitcoin is just money, right? Um, and that's kind of, I think, where people struggle also, is like, what can I build? Well, maybe, there's ultimately, there may not be that much you can build on top, but I think time will tell, and it's definitely exciting.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is what technologies are you most excited about currently, and it goes beyond Bitcoin, but perhaps starting with stuff that happens in the Bitcoin arena.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm genuinely excited by the idea that we can do microtransactions that are instant and that are almost free, right? I think this concept, it's going to change a
and
lot
not
of
and not
how.
hosted by a centralized provider, right? It's all open
Well,
everywhere.
so that's something else, in fact, because both work. You see what I mean? Like, I'm furthermore excited by the fact that this can be done in self custody, right? But just the fact that we can do these microtransactions that are like free or almost free are, I think, yeah, will lead to a lot of different use cases, and just change how we exchange online, and how we pay for services and stuff like that. Of course, the fact you can do it in self custody, that's like next level. Like, you own your own money, and it's all through peer to peer transactions. There's no need for an intermediary. Like, that's the world that we're building at Flash. But custody is not something that's for everyone. I think there's a lot of value in multi-institution custody, where there's different institutions that hold keys. You hold the master key, and they hold other keys. So you don't need to worry about losing your keys, but they can't go away with your money. Like, I see a lot of value in that as well, and I think that that's a model that is likely to develop, yeah, a lot in the future. And in fact, yeah, some of our investors, early writers, they started a company called OnRamp, and they're providing such services, and I see tremendous value in that too. Because yeah, holding your own keys is like, it's tough, and even for businesses, I think it's almost impossible for corporations. They will never go for a fully self-custodial model if there's the possibility of reducing their risk through such multi-institutional custody. But what's exciting about it is the fact that you don't need intermediaries and people that hold even temporary custody of these funds for these peer-to-peer instant microtransactions to happen. And that's I think what's very interesting, because why add intermediaries if we can remove them, right? And that's what we're doing at Flash as well. Like, you just remove intermediary. You are a business, you want to monetize, yeah, well, do it, but avoid these intermediaries. Make sure it's peer-to-peer transactions. And I think that's like the future of money. And the moment we can automate it like it is doable now, I mean, it's the sky is the limit in terms of things that can be built. And so, the kind of technologies that of course allow to unlock this are, well, the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network really is the most interoperable network on Bitcoin that allows to make payments around the world instantly. And for anyone that didn't use the Lightning Network, just download the Lightning wallet, download the Flash wallet. You can get it from our website and just try it out. It's just, I mean, it's pretty crazy that we have one of our employees that works from Nigeria, and I can pay him directly and instantly. Like, I think it's very, very exciting kind of thought, because there's skilled people everywhere, yet you cannot exchange with these skilled people because there's no payment network for it. Well, I mean, there is, of course, and that's Bitcoin, and the Lightning Network makes it that much easier. Yeah, so there's, of course, the Lightning Network, and then in terms of other technology, there's Noster. So, notes and other stuff transferred via relays. I think that's the proper thing, and that's yeah, just decentralized communications. Yeah, uncensorable communications. You can have your own Bitcoin wallet with your own Bitcoin node connected to your own Noster relay, and then you can use Flash without any kind of censorship. And that's true for Flash, but that's true for any other kind of social network platform client that is created on the Nostr network. And that's just, I mean, in terms of sovereignty, I find it pretty crazy. We've never been so sovereign when it comes to using the internet, and that's yeah, just positive, something that we should all welcome. Yeah, so I guess these are the two technologies that we're building on top of. But then, I mean, of course, we can also talk about AI stuff, and like we build, of course,
Maybe
using a lot of AI.
yeah, let's keep that maybe for later. I
Yeah.
found a good way to start our discourse here on your company, Flash, and dive deeper on what you guys are building. So I think you mentioned before peer-to-peer payments, and setting up an online shop without the need to have intermediary, a financial intermediary, maybe a PayPal, right, or Stripe or whatever. Now, most people, I doubt that they have as much awareness as you have working in the industry for the actual underlying problem. So I think maybe you could expand a little bit on that. What are all these? Because there are multiple problems, right? So censorship. I have a friend from Canada who got his bank account locked for political reasons. There's all different kinds of personas, I guess, right, with different problems. One thing I realized, and see more and more also, is the card payments. They're very convenient and easy for customers, but they charge 3%, 5%, in some countries 8%, right? And that price is then passed on to the customer. I think in Europe it's actually regulated to like 0.2%, but probably still there's a cost, and it's baked in somehow, and you pay more with overall with the shitty service you get or whatever. So tell us a little bit about your view on that, the problem in payments right now, and all the different underlying structural issues that have just grown over the years as well. I mean, I do think that fiat money, it works. It's perfect. I mean, we can use it, and I think that's what the ECB thinks. What they pride themselves with. Oh, we make the euro work. Yeah, true. Okay, I give you that. But it could be so much better, I guess. So, yeah, what's your take?
Yeah. So I think the cost side of things. Maybe we can start there, because of course you mentioned, if I'm a merchant and I accept credit card payments, well, there's multiple layers of cost there, because there's multiple intermediaries, right? So of course there's going to be the Mastercard and Visa. Well, they need to get paid, right? And I think they take the major part when it comes to that. But at the same time, if I'm a merchant and I accept card payments, well, I have the small terminal to accept these payments, right? That's a different company. That's not Mastercard or Visa. They need to get their part of the transaction as well, right? So that's a second intermediary you have. Then you have the banks on both sides of the transaction, which is the merchant's bank and my own bank, and they also need to get paid. Although banks, they've found ways to remove transaction costs when it comes to these kind of things, and oftentimes this isn't on us, but if we're doing international payments um, between different countries. So the EU, of course, with the euro, they're all right. But if I'm traveling to a country in Africa, if I'm traveling to a country in Latin America, these are the hardest places. Well, you need intermediary banks between the merchant's bank and my own bank. So and the amount of intermediary banks, this will depend on just what country and where this bank fits in the space of global banking networks. Because if you're pretty much every single bank transaction that is done, for example, using the US dollar, it needs to be cleared by a US bank, which means that if you're working with, let's say, a Mexican bank and a transaction is being done in dollar, well, then this Mexican bank needs to clear it. The kind of regional banking organization for, whatever Latin bank organization there is, there needs to clear it. A US bank needs to clear it. And then, if it's a payment for someone in Europe, well, then it needs to be cleared also in Europe, right? So there's just a huge amount of intermediaries that get added, and everyone wants a cut. Everyone wants a cut. And so the cost can reach very, very high numbers. And that's something that we're trying to change, right? So, there's the fees and the number of intermediaries. Now, what we can do with Bitcoin is remove literally all intermediaries and only hold service providers, right? And that's the position that we're trying to take at Flash. It's, we never touch our users' money. We only facilitate peer-to-peer payments directly from merchant to customer, which just, if you think also long term and when it comes to building relationships with your customers, I mean, that's also like, it's got tremendous value as well, right? Because it's a direct payment, it's a relationship that you are creating with your customer that is directly between the two of you without an intermediary. And I think this can be used, in very many different ways down the road. But essentially, what we try and focus on is removing all the intermediaries that come in the payment process, so that it's from your customer to you as a merchant directly and vice versa. And we are a service provider. So it's the fact that, as a merchant, you can monetize through Flash. So you use our business solutions like our online store, our plugins, I mean, whatever product that we have that you're using for your business. And the payment will be done directly from merchant to customer. And that's where the real disruption exists. And one thing that is very important in this is, because we're never holding your money, we never need to know who you are. And that's one thing that the banking industry, of course, is very strict on, because they need to make sure that, they follow all the know your customer rules. Especially, I mean, the reason for it, know your customer, the reason for it is the anti-money laundering rules and, not financing terrorism and stuff like that. And this is done, so this responsibility is put on the entity that holds the funds for their users, because they are responsible to make sure that their users don't finance terrorism, theoretically, of course. But if it's your own money, if it's your cash, just like you have in your wallet, well, you can do whatever you want. No one can set any kind of anti-money laundering rules on you, because no one owns your money. I mean, it's your money. You have to you can do whatever you want with it. And that's where Bitcoin is the equivalent of cash. And that's what we want to make sure at Flash that we stay true to, because so many places, and I've done a lot of research about this also for my second documentary project that's still in the works. So many places just do not have access to modern financial solutions, because KYC is the issue. When nowadays everyone has a smartphone, but they can't have modern banking, all you need to do is download a wallet. All you need to do is start using a platform like Flash, and you can monetize all over the world without anyone requiring your identity and, you sharing your personal information and such. And I think that's that's very important, and that's the future of money. I just don't see, the moment this technology is out there, there's no way around it. Like, it's going to be there forever. And I think there's regulations that just cannot be put in place when it comes to controlling that, because it is such a basic freedom aspect of it. So I think that's kind of what drives us and the differences that I see.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And I think it's actually not that easy to grasp the impact if you just say, oh, yeah, there's no KYC. Well, it really liberates so much economic activity, essentially, in a very positive way, that there's millions of people that just can't be part of the digital economy because it's so cumbersome. They're blocked. They're not able to, have the right documentation. I recently heard a story, someone is a resident in Portugal, but not he doesn't have an ID, so he can't pass the questionnaire because it's the wrong documentation. that's not compatible for whatever reason, right? So he had to kind of fight the customer support, and all that time is wasted just because it's basically overregulated. And there's many studies on, the efficacy or efficiency of these regulations, that they're close to zero. And meanwhile, traditional banking launders billions and billions and get fined billions of billions, which nobody knows where the fines actually go. But that's another topic. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we should be touching on that later on again, because it's actually quite a good one, and people need to learn. I hope. So I think we're at a good point now to kind of go more into the development of Flash and
Mm.
the early days, and how you initially came up with the idea. So I want to ask you that, what did you initially conceptualize, and how did you think about the overall architecture? So I know that you weren't that it took, some steps before, basically, right? So maybe walk us through the entire process from the first idea you had, and then that led to Flash, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the um, basically in March of 2022, my co-founder Hugo, which was yeah, childhood friend. I mean, I've known him for 18 years or so. He just reached out. That's the moment when OpenAI, they released their APIs, and like it became easy to build AI stuff. And he just reached out. He was like, "Look, Pierre, like we always worked on similar kind of stuff. He also worked as a consultant. He also worked on like accounting processes, automations, big data, all these kind of things. So we had very similar interests, and we would often meet to like talk about these topics because we were just like data geeks and stuff. And one time he wanted us to meet to talk about this AI stuff. So he like walked me through just technically how all of these things work, and said, look, there's opportunity. We should do something with it. And I said, okay, look, I'll think about it. I want to do something with it, but it's got to be in Bitcoin. And he said, okay, look, like let's try and come up with something. And and so what I did that day is I thought, okay, well, like we can try and start building with ChatGPT. So it made the development process so much faster and easier, and allowed me to build stuff that it would have been impossible for me to build before that. And yeah, and so we built first a chatbot. It was the first Bitcoin focused chatbot that would refer to books about Bitcoin, so like the Bitcoin Standard, the Price of Tomorrow, some books by Knut Van Hal as well, and the transcript from my documentary. And you would
And that's
ask a question, and it
Satoshi's
would
emails, right?
answer.
And Satoshi's
Yes, oh,
emails.
that's right. Yeah, all of Satoshi's emails, yeah, and all of his foreign posts and so on. Yeah, and if you ask a question to it, it would refer to all of these documents and would answer as if it was Satoshi. So it was called talktosatoshi.com, and it buzzed like big time. So in the first week, we got like 300 articles in every language, which I mean we weren't expecting that much, but it was yeah really cool. And to that we added the possibility of receiving donations. So because we were covering, I mean, it was free, so we were covering the cost of the APIs ourselves. So we it was the first time we were adding the possibility to generate Lightning invoices, so like a QR code that would appear, and you could just pay it in Bitcoin, and this would help us cover some of the costs. Now, very little people actually donated, which is fine. But it really got us to already figure out like, okay, actually we can do these payment requests ourselves like so easily. Like, let's continue exploring this. And we started adding more technologies that we were very interested in, and we wanted to like be able to kind of bring together AI, Lightning payments, and Noster as well. So Noster for user identity mostly, but also as this communication layer. And so what we started building was just a way to pay for APIs as a developer, and or rather, if I had to, as a developer, built an API that I don't know could give anything like the weather data, well then I would be able to pay for the using this API in Bitcoin and get paid if I'm the owner of that API. And we worked like I don't know 5 months on it, pretty big. We did the whole platform, the whole tech was there, all working. And yeah, the issue was that it was just like way too niche. I mean, like we're working, in the Bitcoin space. We're already in a niche, in the Lightning space, even more of a niche that is part of the crypto niche, that is part of the like payments and tech niche. So it's, yeah, just very difficult. And so the same week when we released this first project, we decided to just change gears and move to something much more simple. But in the process, we discovered this technology called Nostr Wallet Connect, and essentially that's the one that allows to build easily on Bitcoin and on Lightning, that I recommend everyone to take a look at, where essentially um, it allows to interact with wallets through, instead of using the normal API kind of methods, um, you you use Nostr events. Of course, from a developer perspective, it's much more simple. There's libraries out there that like make it very easy. You can ask any AI to build a Nostr Wallet Connect enabled application, whatever use case you want, and it will allow you to do it. It's very, very simple. And yeah, and so that's the tech that we like. We identified it and we saw, okay, this allows us to build software without having a wallet, without holding custody of user funds. Like, we can actually build stuff with that. Because the issue that we were even facing with that previous project was the fact that, sure, we facilitate microtransactions for these API calls that developers can use, but we still want to get paid, right? Because we're trying to build a business here. And the only way to do it, um, up until now, was the same way that traditional payment processors do it. Of course, you remove a bunch of intermediaries because we're still in Bitcoin, but the idea is still the same, that the user would pay us, and then we would transfer this to the recipient minus the fee. And that's the moment where, yeah, you start holding users funds and you become a custodian. And that's when like all of these regulations concern you as well, and that's just not a position we wanted to be in. And we were working with this Nostr Wallet Connect as well as just an extra option for facilitating these payments and payment requests. And that's when we realized that's actually the future of payments. Like, we should commit to this, because right now, and at the time, there was only one wallet, the Albi wallet, that was compatible with Nostr Wallet Connect. But just the features of it, the being able to have direct debit in Bitcoin, allowing to do this peer-to-peer transaction, and then we could still pay ourselves the fee after the transaction happened. That was mind-opening. And that's when we thought, okay, yeah, we have to simplify what we're doing, and we have to double down on this tech that is Nostr Wallet Connect, because it's impossible that this is a technology that won't be adopted in Bitcoin, because it's the very first technology that brings direct debit. And sure, the first use case was for Liquid, but we see eCash community is using Nostr Wallet Connect. We've added the Liquid network to Nostr Wallet Connect. There's right now a pull request that is being worked on the Nostr Wallet Connect GitHub repository that will add on-chain transactions to Nostr Wallet Connect. And essentially, every single payment network can be added to Nostr Wallet Connect. And I think it even goes beyond Bitcoin. I mean, literally, given how it works, MasterCard could add Nostr Wallet Connect if they wanted to, right? And what we want to do is we want to be at the center of this technology, because we can be the facilitator for all payments that go through Nostr Wallet Connect. We can handle backend payments where there's no QR code that is being seen, and we can choose the best network between users. They don't need to know. I mean, I guess Leo, when like you want to send Bitcoin or receive Bitcoin to someone, it's even in person, it's like a can I send you some sats? Yes, sure. What wallet do you use? Do you have a Lightning address, or do you generate an invoice? Should it be on chain? Should it be like a like there's these question marks as to how should a payment happen, because yeah, there's like some standards, but each wallet kind of has their own way and so on. Well, Nostr Wallet Connect removes that, because we just need to know that one wallet has these networks available, the other wallet has these networks available, and we can choose the best network for them, right? And like, I don't see a world in which this technology doesn't succeed, given these kind of use cases. Yeah, so that's what we started building on, essentially.
Well, whenever somebody asks me about Bitcoin payment, I usually respond SAT, the standard. So I think Lightning is for payments, and I prefer using Lightning addresses at this phase of my life. It's
Hmm.
just super cool.
Yeah,
um,
I agree.
I'd like to go deeper into Nostr Wallet Connect because I didn't know that it would be possible to have on-chain wallets connected to that. So that's something new. And um, I mean, it is quite technical, I guess, because for someone that's completely new, this is all like new stuff. But I
Yeah,
remember I was on the Nostr Wallet website. For those who want to check it out, it's nwc.dev, and basically the core concept is connecting Bitcoin Lightning wallets to other applications.
yeah.
Pierre, are you able to break down what kind of happens in the background? I assume you basically need to understand like how Lightning works a little bit, but maybe you have a way to shed some light on that technology.
Yeah, sure. So um, I'm trying to think where to start, because of course not everyone understands all of these payment rails. But essentially, the high level Bitcoin is the Bitcoin blockchain, right? That's like the layer one, and you can move Bitcoin from the layer one to layer twos. So of course the most popular one being the Lightning Network, but there's some growing networks like the Liquid Network is also growing. And so essentially, you block some Bitcoin on the layer one. It can't be used for anything other than the interactions that happen in this second layer, right? And so this is where you have Lightning, and you have a Lightning wallet that like is able to use this Bitcoin that is blocked on the blockchain. Um, and so Nostr, a lot of Bitcoiners like to talk
Actually,
about
maybe
like
one
yeah,
quick addition here for those that are coming from the crypto Web3 space. It's a time lock, right? It's a smart contract
yeah.
that the Lightning channel establishes, and then these funds are available on Lightning on L2.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It's a smart contract. Yeah, yeah. And so then there's what Bitcoiners like to call the layer three of Bitcoin, which is Nostr, and essentially it adds features. So Nostr, just a quick explanation as well. I mentioned it a bit earlier. It's this decentralized network that allows to just send messages. Like literally, that's what it does. It just allows to send messages. Very simple, very lightweight development, similar to the way you can build on like email, basically. So it's the same idea, but rather than just having the one feature that is send an email, it's got features that you would use for social networks. So you can send messages, you can send DMs, you can post stuff, and in fact, you can add whatever you want as extra things that you send. And there's some developers, the guys from Albi, that just added one of these functionalities that was sending a particular type of message that wallets can receive, can interpret, and then trigger their own backend methods. And to give you an example, if I am a wallet developer, well, then I need to create this message. Sorry, application developer. I need to create this message in the right format, just like as if I was, preparing an email as a developer again. So it's technical. Yeah, it's not just. I mean, it's just text, but it's just formatted in like a JSON, and then this can be sent over through a Nostr relay, which is kind of like a lightweight server that its own purpose is really to serve the Nostr network. And I can send a message to a particular relay, and a wallet will be connected to that relay. So the wallet is listening to hear if there are any kind of new messages coming, saying like make a payment or like make a payment request, whatever it is. And when a message is received, the wallet sees it and it's going to trigger its own kind of backend APIs, right? So the idea of Nostr Wallet Connect, and what I think is really amazing about it, is that if I build a wallet, well, I can build APIs that will allow developers to connect to my wallet and do different interactions. Or I can just uh, integrate with Nostr Wallet Connect, and then any developer that is using Nostr Wallet Connect will be able to interact with my wallet, but not just my wallet, with every other wallet that uses Nostr Wallet Connect. So it's like a shared, it's like a standard for Bitcoin wallets as to how they communicate and how you can use their features just like APIs essentially. But it's one method, like, there's one literally, it's called make invoice. It will generate a Lightning invoice. Well, as a developer, I don't care what wallet you connected to Flash or anything else, right? But in the case of Flash, it doesn't matter what wallet you connected, as long as I can call the make invoice. Well, then we'll be able to generate payment requests on your behalf, and you'll receive them directly to your own wallet, right? And that's kind of the magic of it, and it's extremely interoperable because today there's about, I think, 7 wallets that are compatible with Nostr Wallet Connect, and this list is growing. In fact, in the past few months, every new wallet that was created, pretty much all of them, was integrated with Nostr Wallet Connect. Like, I think speaks a lot. It's pretty crazy, and every wallet that integrates Nostr Wallet Connect, their users will automatically have access to all of the Flash tools. Like, and as this network grows, the amount of available users that we have just keeps on growing, and we can just continue providing these P2P payment experiences for all of these users. Yeah, so I think yeah, that explains Nostr Wallet Connect. I don't know if that covers kind of all of it. Yeah, I think that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think for anyone that's familiar with APIs, right, it sounds all familiar. Just that it's interesting. I think it's more standardized in a way. I do have some additional questions though, because it seems that on a Lightning wallet, this might be kind of easier to grasp. Just because Lightning is already more integrated and seems like more flexible from a non-technical point of view. I'm not sure really
Yeah.
if that's the case, but you mentioned that Bitcoin, like on-chain wallets, could basically trigger the same type of payments. Is that really happening?
Yeah. So, and I don't know exactly how they're doing it with the on-chain one. I have a pretty good idea. Essentially, just like you mentioned, every single so Bitcoin that is available on the Lightning Network is Bitcoin that has been locked through a smart contract on-chain, and so every single node that is connected to this on-chain Bitcoin has a Bitcoin on-chain address. Yeah. And as part of the information that is available in a Lightning node, there is the on-chain address, right? And so there is already this information available, allowing us to interact with the on-chain address. And I think this is how they're doing it, right? The pull request was done literally last week. It's very, very fresh, and I think it'll be done pretty easily when it comes to that. But it also means that not every wallet will work with it directly, because not every Lightning wallet is self-custodial. Therefore, some Lightning wallets, the custodial ones, will have a shared on-chain address. And so then it's up to the wallets to manage their backend. But again, it's like they have the same thing for their own APIs, right? It's nothing crazy difficult for them to do. But yeah, and so then the way I'm guessing it would work is you can simply have a Nostr Wallet Connect method that allows you to fetch the on-chain address, and also another one that allows you to make a payment for that on-chain address, and that's it. And this is the way. So we're using another Bitcoin network. It's called the Liquid network, and it's also a blockchain, right? And it also has a similar kind of format when it comes to blocking the Bitcoin. And we've added liquid methods to Nostr Wallet Connect, and these are the ones that we added. You can, so I mean, of course, liquid is a bit different because it's more confidential than on-chain and so on. But so you can create a liquid address, and then you can make a payment to this liquid address. And so the same logic, I think, will be applied to on-chain, because it's also a blockchain, right? So it will likely work the same way. And so yeah, that basically, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's just a new standard that all of a sudden every single developer that has been using Nostr Wallet Connect for Lightning use cases only, well, all of a sudden they also have the on-chain method available. And maybe not for every wallet, and that's also kind of the beauty of it. And we handle this in our backend as well, right? So we have to pay at Flash. Yeah, I'll give you a good example. So it's not for the on-chain Bitcoin on-chain; it's for Liquid on-chain, where we support both methods. So a wallet can be connected using just a Lightning wallet, kind of typical thing, or it can be a Liquid wallet that is connected to Flash. And we know it, we see it, because these different methods are available to us. And so if a user has Liquid, well, then it likely means that the wallet itself is built on Liquid. And so it interacts with Lightning through swaps. Now swaps, they have a minimum amount. It's 1,000 satoshis. They come with like an extra fee cost and so on. So um, 1,000 satoshis minimum is a pretty high amount. I mean, right now it's under $1, right? Obviously, but when Bitcoin was at 100K, well, then it was 1,000 sats equals $1, and we take a fee of 1.5%. So $1, like it would have to be a transaction of over $100 for us to be able to capture our fee. Then, if it was directly in Lightning, because we wouldn't have access for a liquid wallet for these microtransactions because of this swaps requirement. But we know that a wallet is using Liquid. So instead, we're going to use Liquid to pay our fee, right? And with Lightning, well, same thing. We know if it's Lightning. Therefore, we know that we can use Lightning to pay ourselves, right? And and so it comes back to what I was saying earlier. We can just see what methods are available for what wallet and just add a lot of flexibility. Because again, we don't care what network people like. It's not up to us to choose the network that our users should use. They should be able to use whatever network they want to use. It's up to us to be compatible with it. And so if all of a sudden the Bitcoin on-chain methods will be available in Nostr Wallet Connect, it's up to us to upgrade our backend to make sure that we provide this extra flexibility. And I think, I mean, this is huge, because we'll be able to provide such payment experiences for every single Bitcoin wallet that is out there, not focusing on Lightning. Like, I agree with you, Lightning is how you spend, and Bitcoin on-chain is how you save, right? But the reality is that all of these networks can be used together, combined in one single wallet experience that just picks, and all these applications pick and choose how the flow of funds should go. And that's pretty exciting, to be honest.
Pretty mind blowing. Just imagine you had a PayPal, a Venmo, a Revolut, right? And they will all be interoperable. Like that's essentially what you're building, right? Or what's evolving now, that blockchain interoperability comes to Bitcoin and all the layer twos. Is fascinating stuff. And glad you shared this news about the pull request last week, so we can fairly say that this space here is hot and breaking news. And before we move on, I have so many more questions about the use case, the product, more details there. But I want to have a quick break here and appreciate everyone that so far is listening in. We have 114 people here on the live stream, so that's great. Thank you, everyone. And while we're on it, if you want, please help us out. Share the space with your audience so that more people can learn about all this breakthrough new tech that's coming to Bitcoin. Super fascinating. Thank you, Pierre, for sharing so far. And we're already an hour in here, but I think we still have a lot more to cover, a lot more ground to cover. It's not going to end anytime soon. It's still continuing to be fascinating to pick your brain. And please give us a follow at Lightning News. Give Pierre a follow, Pierre Corbin, strange handle, but you'll find him. And also Flash, paywithflash.com if you want to check it out. Do so. And let's continue. So I think one question that many people may have is like, this is all brand new stuff. And, as we've seen in the blockchain space, oftentimes new stuff isn't always the most secure. And so this all could, feel a little bit like hacky. Nostr Wallet Connect, what the heck, even Lightning people still think it's not really secure. There's been a couple of vulnerabilities. So, maybe touching on Nostr, right? It's a decentralized social media. It has these relays. How can you scale this? How secure is this? What about downtime? What about, I don't know, routing or whatnot? Like, is this really made to scale? And is this really secure?
Yeah, so that's a big question, generally speaking. I think this is where it's important, again, to be able to distinguish between what is a project and what is a company, right? Because uh, the whole Nostr network is built on top of these relays that I mentioned earlier. And relays hold the information, allow to pass information, and allow for applications to connect to them and retrieve this information. And so, yeah, just to cover also some basics for people that maybe don't understand it. So if I use Nostr, like I use Primal, for example, it's a great Nostr client. Well, it looks like Twitter, right? And so you download it. It's a mobile application. You create an account. You can add your name, your profile picture, and you get an identifier, which is like your public key. It's called an npub in the Nostr world. But you also get the secret one that is called an nsec. And you can take this and you can go and log into other Nostr clients, right? And so Primal will be connected to a bunch of relays. And so it will fetch information from these relays. So it'll fetch posts, again, like social network, right? So think about it like Twitter. And so it'll fetch all of this information and present it to you in your application. Now, of course, I can choose other relays to which I connect. And so then Primal will again fetch from these relays. So I can even add my own relay if I want to, right? And then if I go onto another Nostr client, well, then they will be connected to different relays potentially. And so my data might not be there, but usually you can also connect your own relay. So you make sure that your data goes with you. But the thing is that if you store so if you tend to connect your information to a particular relay and this relay turned out to be from a project, well then I mean it costs running a relay. Like sure, it's not very expensive, it's pretty lightweight, but it still costs. And if out of nowhere you just like a gym membership that you stop going to, well, you stop paying for this cost, well then everyone that had their data there, well, they just lose it, right? And so there's this kind of sense of responsibility, but then again, it can be run completely anonymously, so you don't really need to be responsible, right? And so I think that's where like some of these security elements come into play, and that's why I think in the end it'll be a matter of like working with trusted relays and trusted companies that do that, right? The difference being that anyone can connect to it, anyone can also use this information. So, there's a whole business ecosystem that I think is going to be built out of this, and we can also go deeper into this if ever you want to have quite a few thoughts about it. But generally speaking, the way we're using Nostr at Flash is really more from the messaging perspective, right? Where well, there are two ways we use it. The messaging one is the one where basically a wallet, of course, can connect. So a user with his wallet can connect to Flash, and we will interact with that wallet through this Nostr relay, right? So for example, if you use the Flash wallet, well then from Flash, we're going to send a message to the Flash relay that will then communicate with the Flash wallet, right? And so our relay, it's in our interest to make sure that it works well, it's stable, because then it allows for our wallet to be better, right? And it's true for the other relays that belong to wallets, right? Like they have all the interest in the world to make sure there's uptime. Just like, my servers, like I want my servers to be up all the time because I want my users to be able to use our platform all the time, right? And so the same thing is true here. And if you use it as this messaging network, well then yeah, like you're not losing data. It's only just messages. Now it needs to be up for these messages to be able to be received and then sent and so on. But worst case, the wallet is temporarily unavailable. And I mean, from Flash's perspective, other than our relay, we're not responsible for other wallets, right? So like, you can always use the Flash wallet, and you can monetize through the Flash wallet and so on. And we will make sure to always have the highest quality because it's literally like at the heart of our business model. Nostr Wallet Connect has to work well. Therefore, our Nostr connection needs to be perfect, right? But other wallets have different priorities, have different business models, or some don't have a business model at all, right? And so just some parts where you just need to choose the right solution for yourself. And the second way we use Nostr is for this user management. So as I said earlier, right, if you have a Nostr account, well, you have npub and nsec, and you can use this to go to other clients, and the username and profile picture that I set will be the same in all of these different clients. So it's as if I could use the same login on X, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. All of these share the same user management. And so I can just choose these different platforms literally just based on the user experience that I have, right? And we're using the same thing in Flash, which means that if you have a login to one of these Nostr clients, well, you can log in with it to Flash directly. Yeah. And it allows us to stay anonymous while, giving you this, well, rather, it allows you to stay anonymous in how you're using Flash while still having this familiar interface where you see your username, you see your profile picture, which I think is pretty cool. And if you create an account with Flash, well, then of course these same informations you can use them to connect to some other Nostr client. So this is how we're using it, and so we
Just a
don't
quick
really hold
quick
data.
question, actually, out of
Yeah.
interest. Where are these user photos? Where would they be stored?
So the user photos, yeah, Nostr doesn't store the photo. Nostr stores because Nostr only stores text, so it stores the URL of the photo, right? So if you upload a picture to through Flash, so your profile picture through Flash, we store it on our S3 spaces, and it generates a URL. And then this URL, we attach it to your profile in Nostr, and we publish it on a bunch of relays, essentially. So if you log into another application, well, then they will have your profile information, including the URL of your profile picture, and they'll be able to load it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Maybe one question I have is, um, are you planning on making Flash or parts of it, of the of all the technology you're building, making that open source? Since you're obviously like a big promoter and advocate of this open permissionless um, space.
Yeah. So 100%. Essentially, I mean, the entire tech we're using is open source, so it's like it would almost be unfair not to like open source some things. But what we want to open source first and foremost is our wallet, simply because we have to show that it's a self-custodial wallet. We want to be able to show that we never hold user keys, and by making the wallet open source is the easiest way to do that, because everyone can audit the wallet directly, and then there's no risk. And I think we'll be able to do that in April, maybe in May. Of course, there's a bunch of security stuff that we need to make sure is on point before we open source it. But I think, given how Bram, our developer, is working on it and he's refactoring all the code, I think it's going to come sooner than later, which is really good. And a second reason why we want to be able to open source our wallet pretty soon is because there's other wallets that are built using the same technology as ours. So it's built on Flutter, built using the Breeze SDK, built on Liquid. Like there's just different points that a bunch of other wallets share. And if we open source our solution, then all these other wallets can very easily copy how we integrated Nostr Wallet Connect. And so I'm thinking, for example, the Aqua Wallet. Aqua Wallet uses Liquid. Aqua Wallet is built using Flutter. Uh, I mean, they can just very easily take the code that we built, that we coded for integrating Nostr Wallet Connect, and add it to their own solution. And that's true of many other wallets that are out there. Bull Bitcoin is also in Flutter. Like, I mean, there's a bunch out there. And by open sourcing our version, we can simplify the integration for others. And what's the interest for us is, again, like I said, the moment Aqua, for example, or Bull Bitcoin, any of these integrates Nostr Wallet Connect, well, then all of their users have access to Flash. And not just Flash, of course, every other application that uses Nostr Wallet Connect. So yeah, so we'll be pushing open source for the wallet. And when it comes to the web application, so same thing. Security, though, is the bigger concern there, and we have to figure out exactly which elements do we want to open source, because there is like some information that, like some tech that we still consider pretty proprietary, because we're the first to use in this way. So yeah, we're still kind of figuring this out, but yeah. We only use Nostr Wallet Connect. There's no wallet on our web application side of things, so there's anyway no risk that comes from this side of our tech stack. It's really the wallet side that we have to show it's self-custodial. We never hold users' money, just to make sure it's clear to the community, and not only to the community, like just as I said, like there's regulations in Europe, but they're not yet enforced, because I think Mika is on since like 30th of December, but countries have 18 months to like start enforcing it. The moment they do enforce it, well, I mean, we risk less of an audit from them, because they can already audit it directly, because our tech is open source, basically. So that's kind of how we're approaching this. So open sourcing helps us show that we do things properly to the community, but also to regulators.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Definitely good luck. And I think it's not enforced yet, but it's already creating huge pain points for consumers. So all the custodial on-ramp wallets, right, like the Strike Relay 21 Bitcoin in Europe, for instance, right, all these on-ramping apps, uh, it's almost unusable. Like in order to withdraw money, right, you have to do a Satoshi test. Which, yeah, I mean, it's all sounds like a good idea, that you make sure that you're the owner, but it's just like the lack of convenience and the pain it creates for user experience just incredible. So regulators always kind of miss the point a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
by the way, Pierre, are you guys hiring? So you mentioned, you go on open source. You probably would love to have people review the code. Is there any way for, let's say, if there's, a junior dev or someone that it's interesting also to just contribute on their own to help you guys? Is there ways to get in touch with you or join the project, whether full on or rather on the peripherals?
Yeah, so I mean, get in touch always. I mean, yeah, just I'm always open to like just hearing from people, seeing what they work on, and try and see if whether it's now or later ways for us to collaborate. At this stage, we're not really hiring, but at the moment we go open source. We don't want to open some bounty kind of a way of working to little by little engage the developer community and allow to improve our software while making sure there's some financial incentive for people out there. But as of now, our team is pretty full. I mean, I'm looking forward to the moment when we'll be able to increase it. But at this stage, yeah, we're like I think at capacity when it comes to dev.
Okay, cool. So I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but we'll see what happens. So um, take a deep breath. Basically, I want to like zoom out a little bit and
Yeah.
ask you the following. And it might not be too late because it's still early stage, right? So if you were to build Flash once again from scratch, um, how would you approach it? What's the roadmap like? What's the tech stack like? What tools do you put together? Because for someone that's interesting to build maybe something similar or just in a related field, I think it might help to kind of understand like conceptually also like what's needed to make a service like Flash reality. And
Yeah.
obviously you can go on for as long as you'd like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if I had to build Flash today, first of all, I'd use one of the modern AI tools that is out there. So Bolt.new or Lovable. I've been using Lovable quite a bit. It's so incredible. It's crazy. But yeah, I think I'd go for that simply because what you would need to do is build an MVP, and there's a lot of what needs to be built for an MVP that is just basic software development stuff that Lovable can create in half an hour for you, just through a bit of prompting. And with this, I mean like some basic user management where someone can log in, can log out. This is the kind of stuff it took us days to develop. We're still using AI, but it was through copy pasting with ChatGPT. So I would go with just one of these tools because it's even faster. I mean, literally, just this weekend working on some others, just experimenting with these tools. It takes one prompt to have a full user management solution on a website. So I'd go for that first of all, because again, the whole point is MVP. Show that you're building something that has value, and the faster you can do that, the better, right? So yeah, I'd lean more on these tools. And again, these are only good for MVPs because there is a moment, of course, it needs to be properly done, properly structured. You need the expertise of developers that they can then use their own AI tools as well, right? But it's just, yeah, these tools are good for MVPs, I think, at this stage. Yeah, so I'd use these. I would still use Nostr Wallet Connect. Like this wouldn't change. Like we built a wallet only as an enabler because other wallets didn't have the exact features the way we wanted them to, like based on our use cases. But we built the wallet like after we already raised money, and we had this clear, like more long-term direction of like where we're taking this business. But we managed to build our entire MVP, that's multiple tools, and raise money without having a wallet, right? So like I wouldn't worry about having a wallet. Just build with Nostr Wallet Connect and use wallets that are compatible with it. Now, in terms of wallets that are like compatible and that work very well, at this stage, I think I can recommend Albi, but Albi, like the non-technical implementation, you have to pay for it. So that's kind of a bit of an issue. That's actually part of the reason why we decided to build a wallet in the first place too. But they're very good. Self-custodial option. Really, really love the work they're doing. Then there's Coinos or CoinOS. Um, Works very well, but custodial, right? So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off. Or there's of course the Flash wallet. That is a mobile wallet. This one is free. Anyone can download it. So that's also a solid one that I would recommend. So you can just use a tool like Lovable. You tell it to use Nostr Wallet Connect methods to like do all of these payments interactions, and then I mean you got to find the use case though. That's like the kind of stuff, and I don't know. We focused at Flash on B2B because there's money in B2B essentially, right? But there's also money in consumers, and that's also kind of the trade-off. But you need to be able to build a product that has enough value for your users to come back. And we are in a space where, although of course the adoption is growing very quickly, there aren't that many Bitcoin and Lightning users. So you need to have one solid use case to get people to come back. And that's trial and error. Like we tried a chat that was like a chat GPT equivalent, and you would pay per question rather than pay your subscription. And yeah, it gets some buzz. It lasted 1 week. We got a few sats out of it. People don't come back. Like so, you have to find, again, retention is like the most important thing when you're building an MVP. People that come back. And what we found for us, just how we built our platform, was that people were coming back for making money, because that's usually what people like to do, is they like to make money. And so if we can simplify this for businesses, well then there was that was the opportunity that we found. But essentially, yeah, like following the same tech stack that we have, which is Nostr Wallet Connect, Nostr for user management. I mean, yeah, you're certain to have like an easy backend solution. Then you got to find the use case. That's the hardest part, to be honest. But again, since now you can build things so easily, it's just a matter of going through use case after use case. But very quickly, you realize that the hardest part is not just building, because it's cool to build cool software. It's another thing to get people to actually see it, to use it, and so on. And that's something that like at this stage, I mean, AI can help obviously, but there's no shortcuts. Like it's a lot of word of mouth. It's just a lot of work that goes through it. Live
Yep.
streams like this one, like there's a lot of work that goes through that part as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the most ambitious challenges in general to do a payment startup. It's like 1 in 100 really makes it, I guess, and it's just incredibly difficult vertical in general. So
Yeah, and because the
respect
margins
and
are so
congrats.
so small as well. Yeah, well, thank you. But also because the margins are so small. If you're selling a product, like let's say I make a phone, well then I know I can each unit that I create I can sell for X amount, and like it's pretty high. Whereas when it comes to payments, especially we're like in the Lightning space, payments they're free, like, or almost free. Like it costs like a couple satoshis, right? And so all of a sudden you're an extra layer inside of these payments that adds an extra cost to it. Now, of course, it's because we add a bunch of utility, right? But it's just it's interesting, and especially with AI that comes in, it's just how like margins just keep on getting lower and lower and lower, and that's the difficulty with a fee business like ours, because it's about scale. It's about having low costs and scale, right? And I think and you see this every time, and I think with AI now taking over in open source projects and so on, we're going to see it at an accelerating rate. There's a lot of businesses that are today corporations that were built in the software world that I think are going to run out of business, because it is now so much easier to build the equivalent, but with a fraction of a cost. And so if it's a fraction of a cost, well, then you can charge a fraction of the price. And yeah, and that's something that we live with as well at Flash, right? Like it's of course, especially seeing the acceleration of this market, like I am very aware of that, and I try to think about it a lot and like figure out, where do we position our business in this always faster moving world. And yeah, it's tough, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier, right? Like how do you avoid the FOMO while keeping your long-term vision? And yeah, that's where again you are a business and not just a project.
Right. Yeah, that's a fine line, and you definitely got to be absolutely sure what you're doing if you want to do the same, I guess. So you mentioned Amazon servers and Nostr Wall Connect. Um, what type of burn rate or expenses and tools are we missing to kind of complete the stack that you utilize?
So I think there's a lot around the privacy stuff. And I think a lot of it is coming and is already there. Actually, the guys that built Mutiny Wallet that went out of, I mean, they discontinued Mutiny Wallet, I think in December. They're onto something new called Open Secrets, but essentially it's and I recommend everyone to like check it out. But basically, it's the idea that we have a database right now. So every single payment interaction that happens, of course, we store it for our users so that they can see dashboards. Like if you're a business, you're earning, well, you want to be able to have this interface with like dashboards and so on to get insights on your business. So we store this information, and I mean a lot of it is not like sensitive information, but still, it's all like the business information. And so being able to make sure that the data that is stored in a database is essentially in a black box, that like, and that's something that we find extremely important, is what if we get hacked? Well, then we want no information to go out of it, right? And I think that's like essentially what I see still as a question mark as to what is the easiest solution to get this done. And I see there's a bunch of tech that is coming out with that, and I think it's going to become just so much easier with time. But I know that yeah, that's the one thing that is still difficult when it comes to that, because again, building software is now super easy, and doing payments with Nostr Wall Connect is super easy. So yeah, it's just security, security, security. And I think in itself, when it comes to payments, Nostr Wall Connect is already a very good step forward, because we don't have access to the wallet keys, right? So uh, we can't do whatever we want with that wallet. It's always the wallet that is going to send payments, right? But of course, this information needs to be the connection that we have needs to be security stored, and that's fairly easy to do. But it's everything else, all the other data that we have, and I think in building that's pretty important. It's only going to become more important, especially you know I think a great way to have a business that is built for the long term is by having as much of it as possible open sourced. And the best way to open source things is if you have top-notch security. And yeah, and so I think that's kind of one thing where like the tech is still evolving, but it's looking pretty really really bright. I think 2-3 years from now, you'll be able to have an AI that builds software in this full black box environment where no one has access to the data except for the end user. And yeah, and that's kind of the missing piece, I think, for like full privacy in software development.
Yeah, interesting. I recently saw a news about quantum post quantum security and stuff like that. So that there is a scenario where most passwords will not be secure anymore. Um, that's
Yeah.
obviously a pretty crazy idea, but we will see what happens. And
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, just one last. I don't know if how much you want to share there, but if you could just give us like a list of components, just in a nutshell again, like so you kind of get an overview of how it's run, and what's your choice of server and services, like maybe some other tools that come to mind. That'd be very helpful, unless it's confidential and adds to your security level. To better not share that. I understand that, of course.
No, no. So I mean, we of course we have servers, so we're using. So we in particular we use DigitalOcean for that, which works really nice. And yeah, and we kind of host all of it on that. Now we have a lot of moving parts, of course, but to keep it simple, we have the wallet that communicates with a server. That is the one that is connected to our Nostr relay,
So
and
the
so
wallet is your own the Flash company wallet that receives fee payments from processing payments, or do you mean the Flash wallet?
So in this case, I meant, yeah, the Flash wallet, like the end user wallet. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the end user. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And so the wallet is, its own self kind of thing because it's a normal wallet. Like you can use it completely unrelated from everything that we do, right? And you don't even need to use Nostr Wallet Connect if you don't want to. But I recommend. And essentially, the wallet is connected to a server that listens to our relay, so that this way we can send notifications to because our wallet is a mobile phone. So if we want to do interactions with it, we need to wake up the wallet for it to send us information, like an invoice. If it generates an invoice, if we want to make a payment, we need to be able to send this information to the wallet. And because we don't own the keys are only on the device, well, then we need to wake up the application, wake up the device, so that it does all of these interactions. And so just for this, there's like a 3 level where there's our Nostr relay that is communicating with a server that is communicating with the wallet, right? And then when it comes to working with our Flash web application, well, then we, from our server, we've got our web application that communicates with our server that communicates with our relay, right? So for to so that's where it kind of gets high level and kind of complicated, and like this is not something you can just build like that with an AI, right? And this is where there's a lot of moat that still remains with startups. But it's the fact that in order to use the Flash wallet with the Flash web application, it goes through our web application to a server, to a relay, to a server, to a mobile application, right? So like there's a bunch of steps, and this is what we need to do to allow for self-custody. Like essentially, if you go for the custodial route, well, then the only thing you need is like one server. Like that's it. It can handle all of it. But we can't do that because we're building in self-custody. So yeah, so there's a bunch of moving parts, and there's more than that because we have more servers as well for like our backend, like databases and stuff like that. But yeah, that's essentially how the whole things works, and the whole notification management with Nostr Wallet Connect and how this wakes up the wallet. That's I mean, our developer Bram, Kumulinja is his developer name, is just the whole solution he figured out for that is really quite next level, because we're the only ones that have a wallet that like has notifications for Nostr Wallet Connect. And so we've essentially built the V1 that every other mobile wallet is going to be integrating to support Nostr Wallet Connect. And so, yeah, he did tremendous work when it comes to that. And that's a part that I really want to be able to open source as quickly as possible and just share with the community and show like this is how you can do it. Yeah, but then there's still like the server and the relay that needs to be added. So there's like an entire technical part that these wallets still need to figure out. But our tech stack will also be available for them, and I think in fact that can be an entire new business route. But we're not thinking about this yet. It's just extra services. Just like the Breeze SDK, they allow to simplify the creation of wallets. Well, then we can simplify the creation of NWC wallets, right? So like that's kind of, I think that there's opportunity there, but for now we just want this network to grow. We want more wallets compatible and so on.
Yep. Yeah, the Breeze SDK is definitely another topic we would like to cover later on, perhaps. So just wanted to shout out again, real quick. If you don't follow Flash or Pierre, leave us a follow. Leave Pierre follows great content on his Twitter account. Also, Lightning News, give us a follow. And we're almost doubled the number of listeners here or viewers on our live stream, which is quite nice. So hey, why don't we go even higher, guys? Why don't you give us a share? Your network counts as well, and we want to have adoption fostered and do our small part to help people understand Bitcoin. And I think this conversation is absolutely mind-blowing and fascinating so far. And I think we might be able to continue. I have a question here that speaks to kind of the user side. And when I first launched the Flash dashboard, by the way, really great looking, clean UX. I know that you're soon to launch the version 2 of that, but already the initial product is great. And I think what's really fascinating there is that you're able to replicate a lot of the products that you're used to from traditional payment, processing services like Stripe or others, right? And It's just amazing how many features you're able to pump out in such a short time. So what I like to know is what's your ideation process there, or your development process and product cycle. So do you have a specific methodology to kind of prioritize features, or do you just go by user feedback? What's your system there?
Yeah, that's it's very funny because it changes so often. Essentially, like it depends because there's different phases of building. Um, but yeah, but from the start, basically, when we started Flash, it was literally just me and my co-founder. So we would just like build it, yeah, just code like literally 24/7, and just building all of this ourselves. And then we got our first developer. It's called Anton. He's still with us. He's been working with us over a year now, which is amazing. So we got our very first angel money, and so we hired this guy. And at that point, it was just kind of, yeah, there's a list of stuff we know we want to like build and add, and so there was no, yeah, development process there. Um, and yeah, after we raised money, so since October we've had more people join, and so then we've added, yeah, more process. So we're trying to follow the Scrum methodology. The so essentially it was, you have a backlog, you have sprints, like 2 week sprints. um, we prioritize these tasks and so on, but we were struggling to break down these tasks properly, which means that the idea is you do one sprint, and at the end of the sprint you release new stuff, and we were kind of too spread out, too big tasks, and so we ended up having too many tasks that were moving on to the next sprint, which is fine, but not if it happens every sprint, right? And so that's like, we weren't very satisfied with how that was working, and we managed to improve it towards the end. But I mean, the end of last year, and but then we were like, okay, wait, actually, what are we doing here? We raise money based off our MVP, and what we need to do is we need to make sure that we release like a strong production ready for the long term solution. And so in December and early January, we took the decision to actually just focus on releasing the wallet, so finishing the wallet, and redoing the web applications, so like almost from scratch. I mean, obviously we're reusing the code, but to be honest, we almost regret not starting from scratch, because it maybe we would have been more efficient and faster with it. But anyway, and essentially, um, uh, then it was kind of no organization. It's really, we know what are the tasks. We're working on some very big tasks because what we were improving was the front end side of things. So we kind of separated the team in two. There was one side that was really taking care of front end design, redoing everything that we already had with just a, yeah, new interface. And then the second part of the team was really focused on the back end side of things. So we like, in the new version we're going to release that, I hope this week, knock on wood, if not like early next week, we'll be releasing the new version of the web app. The whole backend payment flow is changed completely. And now this won't mean anything to our users, but for us, it's a huge deal simply because we've aligned the code for all of our checkout experiences. Everything happens in the backend, so we're like increasing the security for our users, and improving the communication with the wallets, improving the integration with our own wallet. So it was like heavy work that we needed to absolutely make sure we spent the time on, and we release this properly. And so we're reaching the end of this now, which like is just such a relief, because of course it's so many hours. Like the entire team, we've been talking about these things for so long, and now we're about to release them, and everything, we're now merging it all together in our development environment, and all of it is starting to work together as we had envisioned. So that's extremely satisfying. But so what works now for us actually, and again, we're kind of just we started experimenting with this new method, is in fact, just simplify things. We want to be able to ship quickly. So the best way to do that is we do essentially kind of sprints, but they're not officially sprints, but it's 1 week. So from Monday to Friday. And on Monday, and so we had this meeting this morning, we meet with the dev team, and we just talk about priorities. And we list out tasks, but we go down to the detail of the tasks where we can estimate how many man days per task. And then, of course, there's the business priorities, but there's also the tech priorities. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in terms of security, efficiency, all of this. So we kind of list all of the ones that we think we should be working on, and then each developer kind of picks the task that he should do. So there's um, like well, I can give you like a hint. That's also a hint as to like one of the things we're going to be releasing next in the coming weeks and next month. Um, the the wallet is built with the Breeze SDK. The Breeze SDK uses swaps to go from Liquid to Lightning and vice versa, right? And so it does it by default. Now, every single user of the Flash wallet has Liquid. Therefore, he has a Liquid address. And it means that we can generate a lot of the payment requests and all of these swaps without ever needing to interact with the wallet directly because it's an on-chain address. Therefore, the whole flow of swaps that the Breeze SDK allows us to do in our wallet, we're adding it to our backend of our application. Right. So it's a really big deal because it means that like next month we'll be able to very easily allow merchants on whatever checkout there is from us. The default will be a Lightning invoice that appears, so a QR code, but you'll be able to swap to Liquid, you'll be able to swap to on-chain because we can just do this from our backend directly, right? And so there's many things that need to be done for that. And at this stage, so I did the very first draft version of the code for this to work. And so, it was kind of, okay, can we do this? I spent, 2 days on it. Yes, we can, but of course, not final version. I can't do that. Like, I think I'm not good enough of a developer for that. And so there's a developer, one of our developers from Nigeria, is called David, very nice guy. He is the one that knows exactly what needs to be done. And he says, well, look, like last week, well, I need to like set up the environment and I need to like successfully do the first swap. And so he just took these two tasks, and these were his tasks. And on Friday, he confirmed this is done. And this week on Monday, well, I was like, okay, well, now we need to do this task and this task in order to kind of, get it to the end and finish it. And that's his objective until the end of the week. And each developer basically has just these couple tasks that are to be done by the end of the week, and that allows like it's much faster, it's much easier, and so far, yeah, we really like this plan, and especially it's the idea that each developer is empowered, right? Like, of course, we have our own business priorities, but I mean, everyone is aligned with the business priorities. Like even the developers, of course, this is what they want to build, right? They want to build our business forward. Even though developers are developers, and for them, of course, all like security and a lot of backend stuff is super important, more than it is for business. Even though, of course, I understand this too myself. But so it allows for developers to choose what tasks they're working on, and they commit to the rest of the team. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it by the end of the week, right? And so because I think it's very important for us to be able to like get into this quick development flow and be able to just like release. The moment we will have released this new version of our web application, well then a lot of it is going to be just some smaller iterations, and if we can already today get into this quick development, quick releasing flow, well then for our users that come to Flash, every week there's going to be a new feature, a new improvement, something that is gonna improve that. And yeah, and other than that, when it comes to like feature requests from users and stuff, well, we have a backlog, and we just see at what point can we prioritize it, just based on like our business needs. But yeah, it's always a balance, right? Because there's the vision that you as a builder, as a founder, you have of what your product should be, and there's how users actually want to use it. But each user can have a different needs, a different way of thinking about it that doesn't necessarily match with your vision, with the vision of other users. So like it's yeah, I think you need to know your product very, very well, and you need multiple people in the team to know the product and to like try and engage with users. So yeah, so that's what we try to do, and we try to get better at it. Yeah, because it's just a lot of stuff to take care of, and it's just not always easy with limited resources.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to go one step further there on the learnings and such. So you mentioned that you would rather you regret not having started again from scratch. So going back, what was kind of the big learning there, or the big, um, let's not call it mistake, because it could probably been helpful at some point or in some way. But yeah, what was there anything that you said, okay, well, this is something, if I can give advice to someone, definitely don't do it that way.
It's yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's kind of like no regrets in the sense that like this is anyway the path that like that we chose to go down, and at the time it was the right decision, right? It's always looking back where you can like find issues here and there, but it's just doing too big at once. I think that's the difficult part because it slows down the rhythm. And if you slow down rhythm, well, then it's demotivating. And and we always need to like, and we do this within the team, and it's mostly my role, of course, as the CEO, just making sure like we refocus properly, because this demotivating moment where it feels like there's a lot and it's taking longer than we thought because we're building one thing and we're just delaying constantly because, oh well, actually there's this extra thing that like we hadn't thought about, there's this new thing we need to do to make sure that it all works properly in unison, that are just unexpected. And if you take a task that is very big and you have some estimates as to when we can do this, like it's going to take a month and a half, well, you end up realizing, well, no, it's going to take a month and a half plus 1 week, or maybe actually 2 weeks. Actually, you know what? We need an extra 2 weeks, and then it feels slow, and it feels like you're not being productive, even though everyone in the entire team is working very hard. The results can't be seen, and I think that's where taking this much more iterative approach allows to just build more, almost like build more in public kind of thing, because you're just releasing constantly. And that's one thing that, but it's hard, and it's a trap, and it's especially the moment we because we were building MVP until we raised money. The moment you raised money, and you enter a different phase of building. It's completely different, and what you were used to in this first phase as to how like you're building stuff, and how like all of a sudden it's completely different, because as I said earlier, you're not building for an MVP, you're building for production. And this just like changes completely the standards of like how you build things. And so by default this is going to get slower, right? And on top of that, you have all of these other business needs and requirements that come with it, that are hard to follow. And so yeah, there's these phases, right? And so we had the first phase of MVP. Now is the phase where like, okay, going from MVP to the full product. We're about to like have the full product now, so it's going to be much easier to sell that product. Like, I mean, for sure, it's going to be, you're going to be able to have like, come to Flash, have a wallet that requires no KYC, it's self-custodial, that is automatically connected to the web app, where you can monetize every kind of like revenue model. So very low resistance, very easy to sell, and no intermediaries in it. Free setup, like you just get started like in just a couple minutes. And so then, well, it's going to be a phase of like less focused on building myself, more focused on like actually getting it out there, selling. But we need to make sure that we're still building properly as we should. So it's going to be a completely different phase. And and after that, once we start having like the proper revenue that we're like targeting by the end of the year, well then we're going to have to move on to the next step. Like, how do we scale this further? And this again changes completely the approach to building. We're going to need more teams that work separately. And I mean, to be honest, I love it. It's just as I said kind of at the beginning of the live stream, right? This consulting approach of like, you just got to learn fast, like whatever it is, there's always a way to do it. And you learn and move forward, right? So it excites me. I find it really, really exciting. But it's shifts in development that you need to adapt to. And I understand when I read and listen to all of these like entrepreneur audiobooks, like tech guys and stuff, where not everyone can adapt to every phase. I get it, because you just need to be super super flexible. And there's a moment where just you yourself as the founder, coding until 4 a.m. just because you're making it work and it's cool and feels super satisfying. Well, this doesn't work anymore, and you need to adapt to it. And yeah, it's quite the challenge.
Yeah, it's also, I think it's the momentum you're describing and the experience you're describing. It really matches also with the brand name Flash and the fact that you're building on Lightning networks, right? Just super disruptive tech. It might not be like the crazy stuff or extremely deep tech, like if you build an open AI or whatever, right? But still, it's a high level. And yeah, what I'd like to actually ask one more add-on question to the AI tools and the tooling you use. So I've just played around, or yeah, I use it, of course, for all types of different things, research, right? So I've tried a lot of different ones. So Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, GPT, of course. And recently I came to enjoy U.com, which has a cool thing in there, especially in their free app, because it can actually research web addresses or web URLs directly there, and also you have I think by now actually most of the chatbots allow you to select the engine, right, or the model that you'd like to use for it. So in your case, I don't develop as much. Just played around a little bit with B0, which I think is very beginner friendly. Also Replit. So you mentioned Lovable, that you enjoy that or use it quite a lot. Is there any other tools you guys use or have tried in the past? And also, like, how do you actually work with it in practice in terms of is it integrated with your code editor, or how do you deploy it, and how do you also collaborate, right? Like, do you work together as a team? And so I think those are maybe interesting questions.
Yeah, so we don't have a like a team approach to using AI. A lot of it is ChatGPT, especially. But I mean, yeah, I can cover kind of the tools that I use, how, and then how we also use them in the team. So generally speaking, when it comes to like researching, I've become I don't know if you've used this quite a bit, but Grok for research is really good. Their deep search is good. It feels like the most unbiased one of them. Like very nice. So I've really enjoyed this for researching any kind of topic, like literally including market competitors and stuff. So that's pretty nice. And so there's that. Then of course ChatGPT, use it a lot. So the good thing with ChatGPT, and like that's kind of the good and the bad, right? So one thing that Grok doesn't have is it doesn't store some of your information there. So every conversation is a new conversation. So if I talk about Flash with Grok, well then the next time I come, it doesn't know what Flash is, right? ChatGPT knows that very well, right? And so that's where like it's super convenient. I mean, and when I say I like use it for everything, it's like literally I use it to like draft emails, to like answer emails, because it just knows what to answer like on my behalf when like you're trying to be formal, but you don't exactly know how to like say something like it's just a couple sentences for something pretty basic, but you have to find like the right words and stuff. And I mean, there's like way too many emails, message. There's like too many people that I talk with, so it's very convenient when it comes to like some quick stuff here and there. But for building, yeah, like Flash was built thanks to ChatGPT, like the first version, the MVP, where essentially just a lot of copy pasting. And ChatGPT was, I think, the best when it came to like coding. So that's why both me and my co-founder were using it quite heavily. And I think for a lot of cases, it's still true. Like it's just the reasoning is very good. It's very, but I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, and that's true also with like I'm sure if you experience with Replit, it's the same thing. Like you prompt one thing, it doesn't work, and then you end up prompting like to fix the same thing like 10 times, and it still doesn't work. Like that's the issue that is still true of AI tools. And in fact, like just prompting AI tools for coding is an entire like art, just like it is for every single different topic, right? Like for content creating, for copywriting, for whatever it is, like you need to have the right prompts. And the same thing is true for building. Like you need to make it think the right way, and you need to be able to like have some prompts that are high level enough, but you need some prompts that are like detailed enough so that it doesn't go and like change everything else. And like but so there was a lot of building with ChatGPT. And in fact, to be honest, right now when I code, whatever I code, I always code with ChatGPT. It doesn't mean I'm going to use all of it. It doesn't mean like it's just so simple. I can just change text into code and copy it like that. But yeah, I talked about Lovable earlier, and I've been using it quite a bit recently, especially to like show things, because I know that a lot of the code that we have, I'm not the one that's going to develop it. Like if we want new features, it's not going to be me, it's going to be my developers. But it's hard to have a vision of what you want your company to be, but also what you want your product to be, and make sure that the entire team understands it. Like it's a whole different story to like have this vision in your mind and make sure that your team has the same vision. And time again, like we've seen this where, we talk about features. I explain exactly what there should be, and there's a misunderstanding in the team, and someone does it a different way, and like, which is normal. Like, I mean, like, of course, having an idea doesn't mean everyone is going to understand it, and I think that's where Lovable, even just very recently, came in very very handy, where we have a payment link, right? So it's a you connect your wallet to Flash, you can generate a payment link, and it's like, you share this link with anyone and they can pay you, right? And it's got a particular design, and I wanted to express to the team like what I envisioned for the feature I was talking about earlier, where you'll be able to choose toggle between on-chain, liquid, lightning, and show all of these different payment methods. Well, all I did is take a screenshot of our payment link. I paste it inside of Lovable, and I say, make it so that where there's the QR code above it, there's like different options for on-chain, liquid, and literally, like, first prompt was really good. I added maybe 3 extra prompts just to like make sure that like it really understood and got it to like how I wanted it to work with the right loading animations and stuff. I publish it so like it's live online, and I can just share it with the entire team, and there's no doubt everyone understands exactly how I envision it, the kind of interactions that I want. And this is really cool. And I think for anyone that is building with a team, yeah, I'd recommend using that, because it avoids confusion and makes sure that everyone is aligned on what is needed.
So
Yeah, and so and with yeah,
it often deploys. You just press and it has a URL to.
literally, yeah, exactly, yeah, just one
And then
button, publish, and that's it.
do you have there as well like sort of a learning experience that the bot kind of knows the UI, the front end?
So it takes a lot of design decisions itself, which are great design decisions. Like, to be honest, it builds better components than I would build if I would, like, just, yeah, code it myself or do a
Yeah,
bunch
I mean
of prompts
it's
even
on the
in
shoulders
ChatGPT.
of Giant, right? Analyzing thousands and thousands of masterfully crafted UI
Yeah,
components.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
But it's still like, yeah, you still need to give some like design prompts. Like, you need to say, what works well is examples. Like, I say, think of a blend of like Apple and Facebook kind of thing. That's one that I used recently. And also, of course, we have our own brand, like. Like our own design stuff, like color palettes, typographies and stuff like that. And so also just screenshots of these, and I say, think of this and that, look at our website as an example, use this color palette and this thing, and it can build all of this for us. Now, that's the first level that I do. I'm not the one responsible for design at Flash. That's what Hugo, my co-founder, does. So I can build the first thing, then the design will be reviewed fully, and then the team can do it. But it's easier at every step of the process, and I think it's only going to get easier. I mean, when you look at the fact that, like, you can connect Figma to these AI tools, like, it's just yeah, all of a sudden everything starts with the design, which is, yeah, just a different way of working with it. And in the team, generally speaking, yeah, it's I encourage the team a lot to use different AI tools. Especially, it depends on the tasks, obviously. Uh, we so we have an entire server. Its only purpose is to handle our database. So we like everything that is payments, Nostr, and so on. This is in JavaScript. Everything that is database, this is in Python, and this code, this repository, is very very simple. Like, it's literally only got APIs, and they all have the same formats, and with the same opening the connection, closing the connection, SQL in the middle, like very basic kind of stuff. Well, that's like, I mean, copy paste into ChatGPT, say exactly what you need it to do, copy paste also the structure of one of your tables, and that's it. You have like all of the endpoints you need for one table very, very quickly. And so, mostly for these kind of things, I'm gonna recommend they use ChatGPT, and I push them to, because it's really just so much faster when like it knows exactly, because it's super standardized. There's other things, especially in the new tech that we use, that is just not as efficient. That's where like the balance of things is very interesting, because some of the best product ideas I had them through ChatGPT, and having conversation with ChatGPT, saying, I'm imagining this. We have this technology that's available, this available, like, and kind of figuring out how do we merge these things together, and I can build like a very basic MVP with it. But it's very new tech. It's moving all the time. And like, you need developers that not only can make it so that it's a usable product, but also that can understand it so well that the moment it changes, they can change it very quickly too, right? Because that's also a very important thing, that like it's an always evolving world. And we're using tech like it's Nostr and Lightning. Like, I mean, in terms of payments, Lightning is maybe one of the very most niche technologies you could use for payments. Like, we're on the edge of this tech, right? And same thing with Nostr. Like, there's very little developers that know how to do that, and so you need to make sure that you have these guys, because they're the solid ones that can make sure that you have the product for the long term.
Excellent. And just like that, we're 2 hours in, and also we crossed the 200 viewers mark, which I find
Nice.
quite a great outcome here, for a topic like this, which is very technical. So, thank you guys very, very much. And that happened without any one of us taking their shirts off. That's incredible. And if you're listening, please help us. We can maybe pump these numbers even higher, because this is all for a good cause, for Lightning adoption. And so, share it with your network. Maybe there's someone that would like to know about. I have no idea what you guys are doing, because it's Monday. You should be at work. Maybe you're looking for a job. That's also fine. There's great learnings here in this session so far, and there will be even more. So last but not least, here for this little advert, follow Pierre Corbin on X, and check out Flash, and also follow Lightning News. We would appreciate that. So, next question here, Pierre, if you still have some energy left, it's quite the sprint here, is about Fediment. There was a question actually coming in from Jill, from a listener here on the stream. He asked, what about Fediment, which is maybe in a nutshell, it's also a custodial or a custody solution for Bitcoin. It's very kind of hard to wrap your head around it, I think, at start. But basically, it's really meant to enable communities, right, to use Lightning and build like a little community bank. If I don't know if I understand it correct. But do you have any idea on that? If there's an overlap with Nostr Wallet Connect, with Flash, with what you guys are building with the merchant adoption, perhaps?
Yeah. So, so I'm gonna be honest. I also have limited understanding of like exactly how funny mints work in the background, right? But yes, essentially, and it just like, I mean, it's just like eCash have mints, right? It's the same like shared technology there, where essentially
And
there's
you need a federation of, I think, 7 people, right? That you select, that you trust, and then you create this mint.
yeah, exactly. And so essentially, you create the mint, so you create some coins, and then other people can connect to this mint, this federation, and they can exchange this coin between them, and oftentimes are interoperable outside of this, small mint ecosystem through the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So it gets deep into like how stuff can work. So I think super interesting, because it's a way of spreading the custody of the main funds. It kind of comes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is like MIC, multi-institution custody, where there's multiple people that you trust with keys, but they all control the security. And in order for the funds to be taken out of this community, well, then all of these need to agree together, which is oftentimes hard. And that's essentially kind of the idea, right? Like you choose the right people that won't just collude in like controlling everyone's money and running away, right? And I think this model, I mean, I think this model is great, and I think it's like a model that is going to be used moving forward, simply because of the risks that come with self custody, right? And federations are, yeah, I think very nice, and especially the way they're being targeted, like companies like Fedi, that are really going for the developing world, that. This is how they're used to managing money. Oftentimes, they have a community where there's one, two people that actually manage the money for the entire community, and then they just spend among themselves. So I think the use case itself, like, yeah, will speak a lot to these kind of communities, because it meets them where they're at. Like, and that's, I think, what's always very important is, you if you have a target audience, they are target users, they have a certain way of using some tools, in this case money. And if you want to make them adopt a new form of money, well, then the user experience has to be pretty much the same one as the one that they're used to. We think the same way at Flash. That's why we really got into Nostr Wallet Connect. It's because it brings direct debit to Bitcoin. Given the fact everyone uses direct debit in the fiat world, obviously direct debit is going to work in Bitcoin. So we meet them where they're at, right? And so that's the kind of what the guys at Fedi are working on as well. And I think it's really nice. Now, I think there are some things though that like, I think, yeah, we should like have some caution, because it is custodian, right? So like, if you use eCash, if you use, like, there is a custodian there, and um, sure, it's maybe a custodian that you trust, but depending on where you are, well, it's still a custodian that needs to be regulated, right? And that's, I think, where, like, but it's all true. We could like have many different examples with different use cases, where particularly in Europe, because it's like the first place where there's the actual like regulations that are coming into play, where it's kind of signed before the storm. No one is really like paying attention, and no one is necessarily getting ready for these regulations that are incoming. Well, like, everything that is Fediment and eCash in the EU, huge question mark. Like, these guys are custodians, and unless they register as banks, it's not going to work. And so, what does it mean, right? And sure, I 100% believe in the cypherpunk world, and like, we like literally have a job thanks to cypherpunks, right? So like, that's the same philosophy that I share. But there's a moment, there's, yeah, some regulation that is just very hard to escape from, and that's the only like kind of question mark and doubt that I have on this tech. But that's just policy, that's just regulation. Like, this changes, right? It's it looks one way today, but it will look differently like a few years from now, right? So that's but other than that, like, I mean, yeah, the concept itself, and the Fedi app, like, I don't know if you've used the Fedi app, Leo, but it's really freaking awesome. Like, and it's so cool as well how they use eCash to make these payments within the mint, that, like, you see, it's like just a huge amount of tiny transactions that like literally sats being streamed into your wallet. And it's just, like, it's really interesting tech to like experiment with, and it works awesome. And they are integrated with Nostr, and they are integrating Nostr Wallet Connect as well, because just of the features that it gives within its ecosystem. Not so much, right? Again, it's like, if I have one wallet, and another user has a different wallet, sorry, has the same wallet, well, then the app developer can make sure that like they work together nicely, and like it's a nice ecosystem, just like Revolut can do, right? But Nostr Wallet Connect allows for everyone to have these like nice fitting features together. It's like, N26 and Revolut could integrate their most exciting feature together very, very simply. Well, we can do this with Nostr Wallet Connect, so they're integrating it too.
That's the kind of fascinating observation here. I feel that we've seen, I think, in China and Asia, the super app model, right, where you have one app and it can do everything. It can go shopping for you, it can go Uber for you, it can go pay your bills online, everything, right? So imagine all your apps kind of in one, right? And that's interesting that Fedi is in a way also an open marketplace. Everyone can host or build plugins, basically, right, or apps for it, and then depending if it's useful, it'll get used, and you can try. For example, it has a Chat GPT integration, and it's paid, right? So you have to pay a credit, top up your credit, and you can interact with it. So there's lots of use cases for that, right? Maybe there's an SMS provider for OTP or whatever, right? So lots of use cases, and it's fascinating to see how the online world is really, I think trying to integrate with each other. And but at the end of the day, you still need, I mean, you need the network effect, right? Like it doesn't help you to have a platform with a lot of apps without users. So I think the fascinating story now is, right, that with Bitcoin and Lightning, suddenly you can bootstrap micro ecosystems and build network effect just based off that, whatever it may be that drives that community to come together, right? And then see what they need and what features they want, and then develop more network effect and develop more value. And eventually it becomes the major app. So I think Blink, for example, is a very powerful app because it just has the right features for a very specific type of audience, and they're growing slowly, but very steadily. It's not that it's a VC funded startup and it just doesn't exist anymore after 5 years. And you don't need billions of dollars to pump up the network effect, like, I don't know, TikTok or whatever, right? So the question though is like, what type of features do you build, right, to attract users? So yeah, maybe merchant features, right? Like what do people want to see from Flash um, to have easy to use tools to accept payments?
Yeah. So, just before to your point, what's I think interesting, and what is going to get a lot of people, to start using Bitcoin and Lightning, is a lot, yeah, around the use cases and the fact that, like, I'm at the stage because, and I guess you're at similar kind of stage. You don't, I mean, I don't look at the price of Bitcoin, like, hardly, like, it doesn't impact at all, like, the kind of decisions that I take and so on. And so it's not even about Bitcoin and sending Bitcoin. It's just about sending value. Like, it's literally, there is no better network for sending value than Bitcoin over Lightning, like, literally, right? Because you can send anywhere around the world instantly for free, and that's just, nothing beats it, yeah, without intermediaries. Like, nothing beats it, basically. And so I think that's what's going to bring people over at bigger scale. It just takes time, obviously. Now, in terms of use cases, so yeah, we're focusing on B2B. Um, but we have stuff like for content creators, right? Like paywalls, payment links, widgets for donations. We've of course, e-commerce is big, so like hosted stores, plugins, and so on. But the the tool that we kind of got more famous for when we released it was subscriptions, so automatic recurring payments, because we're the only ones to like have built this. And in April we're gonna have subscription support on our wallet, so it's gonna, like, yeah, work perfect. We're very, very excited about this one, and just very easy to onboard users to it and so on. But yeah, essentially, subscriptions was an interesting one because, again, the only way you do subscriptions is if you can trigger payments from a user's wallet, and it was impossible to do that with Bitcoin. It's only doable now with Nostr Wallet Connect, and we're the first ones to have used it in this way. And so we create, the whole triggering system, landing pages for these subscriptions, and all of that. And that's, I think, a great use case that just makes it easier, because that's how a lot of businesses today do their business. I mean, and it's easy, even like if you think as a business model for VC funded companies, the majority of them work with a subscription model because it's the easiest one to like show value with, right? Because you just set up a basic subscription paywall with a tool like Stripe, you charge a few bucks a month, and it's very clear, are people willing to pay for that or not, right? Whereas in our case, for example, through the fees, well, it's a bit more complicated because it's kind of smaller margins, smaller numbers when it comes to revenue, and showing them that way. Anyway, and yeah, so that's the direction that we've taken. But right now we are the Bitcoin payment gateway that supports the most revenue models for businesses, because we've got these subscriptions and widgets and stuff. But we want to go beyond that, like, because business is one thing, but, and I mentioned that briefly earlier as well. It's the fact that through peer-to-peer payments, we create direct interactions between a merchant, a business, and his customer. And that just, like, a lot can come out of it, because you're creating this relationship that is kind of there forever in the wallet, right? And I think there's just some use cases there that are very interesting that already exist. In fact, like, I rarely use Wallet of Satoshi, but when I open Wallet of Satoshi, and I can literally open it right now, and I'm pretty sure that the most recent transaction I will have will be one of these advertisements where like, well, let me check. I open my Flash wallet, and yeah, so I received one Satoshi about a week ago from Thunder. That is an advertisement, right? And like, of course, unsolicited. I don't care for their ad, but they sent me money for it, right? So like, even if it's something that I didn't want, just like I receive SMS from some companies I don't care about, or like emails that advertise their stuff, at least I'm getting sats through the
Yeah,
process and they're
I
paying
think
me, right?
Wallet of Satoshi has an option to sort of mute
Hides, yeah.
like hide transactions that are small, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can hide the small transactions, and but that, I think, like, whether or not this particular feature is something that is going to grow, I don't know. Like, we'll see, right? But
I
it's
think I, th- I
the
think
fact.
it's very likely because I think that there's attention for Satoshis. I see it now with Orange Palab, right, which also just recently released their wallet, and dude, what's like nonstop people are sending sats.
Yeah, and the geozapping is really really cool as well, right? Like, that's and that's some of the feature requests that we get quite a bit, actually. It's we already experiment with this. So we have a referral system that allows us to split the fee. So when the merchant gets paid, after the merchant got paid, this is when we trigger a transaction, so a microtransaction, to pay our fee. But we can do split transactions where part of it goes to the referral, the other part goes to Flash. This is really cool, and we're thinking, how can we develop this further, and also how can we add more split transactions to different places. A pretty nice one is, for any one of our tools, like, what if you could have a donation widget that will automatically pay whatever amount is paid, will automatically split that payment and pay to a bunch of different users, right? And that's pretty interesting. I mean, think of all, like, the open source projects that live off donations, and they could directly pay into the pockets of the developer, right? Now, it's all a matter of figuring out the right way of doing it, and because there is custody for this to work, there has to be custody, in the sense where, like, when we pay the fee, well, we do two transactions. Well, the money goes somewhere, and the money goes from the merchant's wallet to our wallet, or the referral wallet, right? And so the money has to be somewhere before we can trigger all of these payments, right? But that's, not too much of a problem, because custody won't be on our side. If anything, it'll be on the side of, like, the organization that created this donation widget, and then they just decide, like, to what Lightning addresses and so on, so they choose to, like, send this forward, right? So yeah, it doesn't too much count as custody. It's more like, someone pays me and then I give you $5, right? Like, let's say in cash. Yeah, so like, it's anyway, so that's the kind of stuff we have, where, like, you could, I don't know, sell your coffee, and you estimate that, in, like, the whole supply chain of your coffee until it gets paid to the consumer, well, exactly, each person involved, how much do they actually produce from it, and what percentage of the final price does their labor cost. Well, what if everyone just did this, and the moment the coffee gets purchased, well, every single individual involved in that supply chain gets instantly paid into their wallet? I don't know. That's the kind of features that people ask from us. Now, it's extremely niche, very interesting, extremely niche. So I'm not sure how we're going to start prioritizing these. But there's other ideas there, because, again, like, self custody and automating transactions and all of this, it's not something that's very easy to do, and it's not something that every business wants to take care of. It's just like, we've built a wallet that we think, like, is going to be the best wallet to use with Flash, but also beyond that, like, great interface, like, we really want to, like, pump it up in terms of, like, user experience. Well, then, why wouldn't it be the wallet that users can connect to other applications that they're already using out there, right? And that's where, like, we can also provide this kind of service. So we can allow for businesses to add microtransactions without custody into their own applications. Because one of the reasons, I think one of the reasons why we haven't seen a lot of platforms adding, like, tipping for it, like on Twitch, you tip someone, or you could tip another person in the chat or something like that. I think there's two reasons for it. Is because first of all, this is the kind of interactions that would be using microtransactions. So that's it's a difficult one to do. So the only way to do it is to actually set up a bit of like a bank account setting where like I am a user with ID, whatever kind of thing. And there's two users, let's say, and you have to like load some money into it. So you prepay like $10, I don't know, and then
Yeah,
you've
like
got a
yeah, like
balance.
credit tokens, right? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can use this balance to like send from one user to another, because again, you can't do microtransactions any other way, right? But the thing then is that if all you do is like you're a streaming platform, well, all of a sudden you're pretty much a banking institution that needs to KYC all of your users, that needs to add all of the AML processes. Like you're adding entire departments and you're increasing your cost like crazy, right? And everyone needs to be trained for all. Like, I mean, it's unthinkable for someone that all they do is software, right? Whereas if you can integrate it very easily in a full non-custodial way, well, then all of a sudden use case unlocked, right? And that's like the kind of stuff that we also want to be able to provide. Another example that we've had like as MVP is Google AdSense alternative advertisements. Like you could host your advertisements on a platform. The way it works today is same thing. You prepay. So like if you use Google Ads, you prepay like $1,000 to like Google, and Google then tells you that there's been X amount of clicks and you've paid for all of these clicks, but you have no idea. Like you literally just trust them. Yeah. Well, what you can do is have literal pay per click, where every single time a user actually interacts with it, you never paid anything as an advertiser. You only connected your wallet, and then you do direct peer-to-peer payments. And so you know it, you see it in your wallet. You see the transactions that went out, and you see who you paid, what platform you paid, and when it was, right? And then you can like go and do your reconciliation and check like, did Google AdSense lie or not about it, right? Like essentially. And not only can you pay the platform where it's on, but you can do a split payment, and you can pay the person that actually clicked on it, right? Through Noster and the fact there's Lightning addresses linked to your profile. Like, I mean, yeah. And so that's pretty freaking awesome. And I think that's the kind of use cases that were literally impossible with self-custody. With custody. Like they're only doable with a self-custodial environment, because you remove all the regulation bullshit. Like all of it is just gone. It's just like paying from your wallet, and it's just super easy.
Yeah, it's obviously it's still in stark contrast to the reality right now, but nonetheless interesting and fascinating to envision. Ultimately, best way to predict the future is to create it. That's why we're here, right? Another use case I thought is interesting is payments, corporate payments. So you have the ramp card, the digital card, the browser extension, right, and then it. I mean, I think most people maybe are familiar with Revolut virtual cards, which are very handy because you can also then segment certain subscriptions. Say, you have your online subscriptions, and you can separate it. And also for privacy, it's great because you don't have to give your physical card. I mean, credit cards is outdated already, because who wants to type in a number, right, and your CCV or whatever. And so with the corporate cards, is at least you have the autofill, which in my experience doesn't always work. I think it'll be so much more easy doing that all with a Lightning solution.
So like, but how do you imagine it?
Well, so do you? So I mean, this is more for I think the outgoing payments, right? But you could have, instead of a card, you have a space. I think N26 also has spaces where you basically just have a virtual pocket of funds. It could be a Lightning channel, of course, but it could also be just virtual, like in your wallet, perhaps. And just so you have it easier to manage subscription. So, like in the case of Lightning subscription, it's instead of having to enter your credit card details, you plug in your Nostr wallet. You connect it with Nostr Wallet Connect, right, and that's it. But now, let's say, how do you monitor your subscription? I mean, you can just toggle it off, I guess, right? So maybe that's the solution, right? Instead of having multiple virtual cards, you can really just toggle it off. It's so simple.
Yeah. So I mean, in the sense of how we're handling such subscriptions and connections, it is going to be a toggling off kind of way of working. So the connections to applications directly, we're just following the Nostr Wallet Connect standard there, where like essentially every application you connect to is a new connection, where you give certain rights to that application so that they can like make payments or like request payments, all these kind of wallet interactions. And what's I think also really pretty amazing is that if comparing to today and like the fiat world and credit card world, debit card and so on, if I subscribe to a product, well, I do it through MasterCard. So MasterCard is like this extra service on top of my banking, right? And MasterCard is nice. Like they're not even considered a money transmitter. They're kind of, similar to what we're doing in the sense where they're just sending messages between banks. And essentially, I connect my debit card, so I give this number, okay, right, and like the subscription can charge me monthly, but I cannot remove this connection directly. Like oftentimes now, like neobanks allowed you to do that, like Revolut allows you to, like, it identifies what is a subscription, and so it can block the payments to this account. But otherwise, like, you have to go on the website where you subscribed, you have to log in, you have to go manage my subscription, you have to like cancel the subscription, and like it's a few steps, and like, to be honest, like they're sometimes annoying, and it has happened to me before that I did not stop a subscription on time because I thought, oh, there's this subscription payment coming, I should go there. I try to log in, I forget my password, so I click on forgot password, my phone rings, I pick up, and all of a sudden I forget and I didn't unsubscribe. And then the next day I see a notification from my bank, just paid X amount, and I'm like, damn it. And I think everyone like went through this. Well, because these connections, you're the only ones that controls them, right? It's not your bank or it's not MasterCard that controls the
Yeah,
connections. It's
and also it's
only
a lot
you.
more. It's so programmable, right? You can program
Yeah.
time delays or whatever.
Yeah. So each connection can have like a renewal phase or not. They can set a budget, a maximum budget. You can set certain rights. Are they allowed to pay or not? Just receive payments. There's very like to a very granular level, which is very nice, but also complicated from a user experience perspective. Like we need to like find ways to simplify this. But that's just UX and like figuring out the stuff. But essentially, yeah, you're the only person that controls these connections, and they are only controllable from your wallet. So you don't need to worry about logging into that platform. No, you just go on your wallet and you delete the connection, and that's it, right? And for subscriptions, well, we're doing it so far, like right now with our APIs, because of course, we save the subscription information and so on. So this is how we're like going to be integrating this. But we're thinking, how can we make it even more interoperable? Like we want anyone to be able to, so any other wallet to be compatible with our subscriptions, and so we want to make it clear somehow. But it's open source technology, so we need to find the right way to standardize it, because if we have an idea of how we can like change the Nostr Wallet Connect protocol, well, the whole community needs to approve it, right? And only then does it get like merged, which means that we need to make sure we get the right user experience, because this is the only one that is going to move forward in a standardized way. And we need it to be standardized because, again, like, we want to be the heart of subscriptions for this standardized world of Nostr Wallet Connect payments, right? And so we have to find the best way of doing it. This way, everyone can just integrate it. And the easier we make all of our tools, whether they're non-technical or whether they're technical, well, the more people are going to come over to Flash for them. So I think that just this connection to applications and managing subscriptions and other kind of payment interactions is pretty interesting for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. That brought me to another question, actually, which is also more related to the user experience. But you mentioned earlier that Nostr Wallet Connect will eventually also allow to pull out payments from a connected Bitcoin on-chain wallet. Which again, I think there's really, like, you have to put this into perspective of that doesn't mean that you have to connect and your on-chain funds are safe if you don't connect, but it does allow for additional convenience if you may want to experience those conveniences, right? So most people are totally used to pay subscriptions and have cards and all kinds of stuff, and PayPal and stuff like that. So do you think how do you envision this to come to Bitcoin, right? Because we're far from that. I mean, Bitcoin so far it's just used as a store of value, and that's all fine. And there's still a long way to go. I think just recently, actually, Kalle posted about having contactless payments, I think,
Yeah.
on Lightning, which is amazing. So all this technology is suddenly now available also on Lightning, which has to happen for adoption to grow. But do you think that people will want an on-chain address to be available for online subscriptions, or how would they move funds, right? So traditionally now you have a savings wallet in the bank, and that's the idea originally, I guess, right? And a daily spending, and you get your income in there or whatnot, and then you want to move some maybe for investment or saving or retirement, and then and also I think it implicates or it has implication with general money management. I mean, for people to become successful in life, they have to understand, always get more in than than what goes out, and ideally even have assets to pay expenses. So, do you see any novel behavior in terms of how people will use their money? I think it's already. I mean, it's already starting. I think with what Revolut has started and N26 to have top ups for savings, to have multiple spaces for savings goals. Do you believe that people will have a certain preference of how they will use this, and if they maybe just have the on-chain wallet for their cold storage, or and then a Lightning wallet for spending, or how do you see that?
So yeah, I see it in a way where like we should set these standards for users in the sense that like the use case that you're talking about of even just the concept save in Bitcoin, spend in Lightning. That's like that's almost a power user way of thinking about it, right? Like that's how I think, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
mean, it makes sense because Bitcoin is sort of the Swiss bank, and if you think it through, perhaps the fees will prohibit lower amounts to be really useful on chain. So inevitably, it might become a sort of you get paid on your custodial Lightning wallet, and then once you're rich enough, quote unquote, right, then you'll be able to get your UTXO set essentially.
yeah, well, so it's very interesting because like I almost no, I don't have the opposite vision, but to be honest, almost. So you know um uh, how can I explain this? Um, so at Flash, we're non-custodial. We never touch anyone's money, right? It's true of our web application and our business tools, but it's also true of our wallet. And we're and we never want to change that, right? Unless we grow big time and we'll have an extra custodial service, but like separate, right? But like this core part of what we're building now has to remain this way. And I think there's a big difference between earning in self custody and holding your funds in self custody, right? And we want to be sure that we solve this first part, right? Because you remove all of these intermediaries, right? There's like literally it's just peer-to-peer payments, and so we can solve this problem very nicely, very elegantly for the long term. And then what the user does with it, like we don't care, right? We have to be as well connected to the different solutions for custody. So there's like self custody. Well, yeah, you can just leave the funds on our wallet. There's custodial solutions where you can just like transfer it to a different wallet that just like hold these funds for you. There's the multi-institution custody. There's the Fediments, right? Like all of this can be connected to the world that we're unlocking, and that's kind of how we're also trying to think about this. Is we want to be able to solve the part of like earning and receiving these payments directly, and then what happens with them is a whole different topic. But I do think that like as a minimum, and that's a feature that we want to be able to add like in the coming months, is whatever you earn inside of your Flash wallet, well, you should be able to have an amount that like if you reach, I don't know, $100 of sales that you made, you can automatically transfer it, like either through Lightning, either on chain to a wallet of your choice. Because yeah, like we want the Flash wallet to be the best wallet out there, but it's not really the solution for businesses. Like I think for bigger businesses, great for like small, medium enterprise, and especially where there's like one business owner that is very involved in the day-to-day activities. Therefore, he gets paid directly. But other than that, like I think there's going to be the need for all of these other solutions of storage. Also, we like unless again we grow to the point where we would have like a custodial entity of our own that has like a bunch of financial services, we're not set to like provide financial services, nor do we even want to provide them right now, because if we were to add such financial services to like our wallet or something like that, well then we would need to KYC our users, and not just the users that choose to opt into it. We would have to KYC all of our users, right? Even those that like don't use our like swaps and stuff like that. So that's where I think like there's going to be a big blend of like these technologies out there, and that's where recently I started having this distinction between the money you hold and the money you earn. Like they can work in completely different ways, and I think earning in self custody has a different value from holding your funds in self custody, and it doesn't work for everyone. Like some people, in this transition phase, I mean, some people don't even want to hold Bitcoin. Like literally, I talk with businesses that they don't care about Bitcoin. Like they couldn't care less about Bitcoin. Like they just see it on the news and they think it's something that's important, and like they need to like somehow like experiment with it to in order to stay relevant. Which I mean, I 100% agree with. And so these businesses, they're they're only looking for an easy solution, a free solution to get started, and that is safe, right? And so in order to make it easy, you remove KYC, so self custody solves it. And in order to make it secure, again, self custody is the answer, because we're not a new risk for their business, because we never touch their money. And have a fee revenue model like ours allows it to be a free setup, right? So like that's kind of like how we're like moving into this. But these guys, like they don't care about Bitcoin. If Flash had the solution to instantly convert it to fiat, they would go for it. And we don't have this now. We want to add this through partners, but it's just it's just in this transition phase. And I think down the road, a lot of people won't be holding their funds in self custody either, because self custody is hard, man. Like I mean, I've lost money because of self custody, and that's me being like a smart Bitcoiner that understands how to manage my keys. Well, it's happened to me to lose some keys, and I'm pretty sure, like, has it happened to you?
Oh yeah, too many keys lost in
Exactly, right? Yeah.
various boating adventures. Sadly
Yeah,
funny.
but and so my point is that for a lot of people, um, they're like they will always have to be abstracted from that, because I think although Bitcoin, and I even wrote an article in Bitcoin magazine for that like 2 years ago, that um, uh, Bitcoin is going to force people to educate themselves more about finance, because you have to take responsibility. It's not just like free rolling where like yeah, like, and I truly believe that this is true. But at the same time, I think for the majority of users like down the road that join Flash, we will be the ones to have to take the decision what they keep on chain, what they keep for spending. They won't know it's on chain. It'll be called savings, right?
So
It'll
more
be
like
on
a risk,
chain.
more like a back end risk,
Yeah,
procedure. Yeah.
yeah, this kind of thing. And what's good then is that you see, like, if you want to have a pure Lightning environment, and if you want to have a pure blockchain environment, so like Bitcoin blockchain environment, well then these are two separate wallets, right? Now you can merge them inside of one interface, so it looks like it's one wallet, but it is two separate wallets in the background, right? Well then, if you want to keep it self-custodial, and you want to allow for like these automatic transactions, including between these two wallets that are within the one interface, well then Master Wallet Connect still comes into play. And therefore the methods to make these these Bitcoin on-chain payments can come in handy for this case, right? But then, like, I do agree with you, it won't be for every wallet and it won't be for every use case. And I think it's power users that will like have access to like the granularity of understanding how they connect this to like other applications. But for most users, they won't be power users. They'll just need it to work, and that's it. And so I think it'll be our responsibility to make sure that if they want to keep Bitcoin in savings, then we should keep it on. Like we should make sure that for them in their wallet, it's stored on chain.
Yeah, right on. I think the market is still very open to ideas, and maybe thinking about the fiat solutions, um, the evolution of products is a lot slower, right? Because of the golden cage, the regulation that really stifles innovation. Not that much in Lightning. It might be not as much venture funded, right? But the level of innovation that you can see and observe is just incredible. And So hopefully the market will be able to figure it out, and the best solution will be successful. And I think there's still a lot more, um, a lot more solutions that will actually evolve for all kinds of different, um, for all the different aspects of money and finance in general, right? So we're coming to an end, unfortunately. Beloved viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining. I have a few final remarks or questions. So I'm not gonna ask you once more, Pierre, torture you about the product suite, which is just so comprehensive of Flash. But if you will do me a favor and sort of maybe summarize just the two product categories, or columns, the B2B side and the B2C side. And I think a good way to put this is, what would businesses miss out, or the individuals, creators, small merchants, shops, what are they missing out if they're not using Flash?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the two axes that we have. So there's of course the B2B side, which is really the web application that we have, that you can connect wallets, including the Flash wallet, to it, and there's a bunch of tools for that. Yeah, you can, again, pretty much any revenue model works for that. And so this happens on our web application, and you can use the Flash wallet or other wallets with it. And you just connect it, and we can take care of the rest for you. Very, very simple, literally a couple minutes setup. The B2C side of things, this is where our wallet comes into play. So the wallet, of course, is perfect for merchants, right, and allows to earn while offline and so on in full self-custody. But for consumers, the wallet is just a great wallet, generally speaking. Like, the UX is very clean, looks very nice, works very well, and easy to understand, and so on. And is also free, and is free to get started with, which is also kind of becoming rare, or is pretty rare in the world of self-custodial Bitcoin wallets and Lightning wallets. And the next thing you can do with it is, of course, you can connect it to other applications. So there's a bunch of Nostr Wallet Connect applications there. There's Nostr clients, right? So you can connect it to send payments and so on. But there's also subscriptions. So we're about to start pushing our subscriptions some more, where a Bitcoin platform that uses automatic recurring payment today, if they do that, well, they do it in fiat. Even though it's a Bitcoin company whose clients are Bitcoiners, well, they will charge subscriptions in fiat because there's no way to charge subscriptions in Bitcoin. And we're going to be starting to push this more, because our wallet will be fully compatible with our subscriptions. The way it works is super simple. You'll be on a platform that supports subscriptions in Bitcoin. It redirects you to a nice looking Flash checkout experience. You need to connect your wallet, where you will just take your phone, scan a QR code, and that's pretty much it. And from there, a payment will be triggered, and you will have access to the service. And then the next month, the next week, whatever it is, whatever frequency of the subscription is, we will trigger another payment. This is pretty cool as well. It's in full self-custody. You can be with your phone in your pocket, and it won't vibrate or anything. You will just receive a notification that says, triggered payment, and you just know that a payment went for this particular subscription. Yeah, and so then also, yeah, what merchants are missing out, essentially, it's just a super easy solution and super safe. I like to say that we're like BTC Pay server, but with customer support and easier setup. Because again, we're in terms of doing this in self custody, with easy setup, I think we're unmatched in the market right now. Literally, there's other options, but they'll be custodian, and some of them don't require KYC, which again, with regulations that are coming, kind of question mark. Others are technical or require a down payment, so a monthly fee or something like that. And I think these are all just obstacles, because for businesses, well, if it's custodian, they need to trust that business. And I mean, there's always limited trust in startups, particularly. And I mean, let's be honest, everyone is just a startup in this crypto payment space, because it's just so new and evolving so much. So you need to trust them. Trust is, yeah, people have trust issues. Businesses, they choose the right bank before they start, storing their money somewhere. So at least, this is gone. Same thing. More difficult setup. Ours is just basic forms, because it's connected to the wallet, no KYC, and it's free to get started, right? So I think these are really the big points that differentiate us from others, and that make us so much easier to use than competitors.
So if I have a, let's say, a little shop and online, and I want to accept Bitcoin payments through Flash, what are like the, the top 2, 3 steps? I guess, let's say it's a Shopify shop. You have a Shopify plugin, right? So
Yeah.
you integrate that, and then the Flash dashboard. You create an account with email, and then all you need is to connect your Flash wallet, right? So you have to download that and back up your seed phrase, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And then like the Shopify plugin is just a call that needs to happen. At this stage will likely be with me because I want to talk with all of the users, where we just like help you through the setup because there's some work that needs to be done on our side. And after a 10-minute call, yeah, you're ready to go. You forget about it. And essentially, every single time that someone is on your Shopify checkout, there'll be an option, Flash Pay in Bitcoin. The user selects this. He'll be redirected to the Flash checkout page where he can pay and then redirect it back to your store, and you will receive payment directly inside of your Flash wallet.
Will this be available in the US? Because the only other plugin I know, or a payment processor I know, is IBEX. That used to be very, very simple as well. Just copy the API key to your WooCommerce plugin and you're ready. And I think you
Yeah,
had to connect an on-chain. So they did the swap. So you had to connect an on-chain address in order to receive payment. So kind of similar principle. But
yeah.
I think they don't service the US market anymore. Will you be servicing US?
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, part of the reason why they don't service the U.S. market is because it was custodial. So all of a sudden, like there's like they need to be able to follow the right regulations, and we don't need to worry about that. I mean, first of all, we're a U.S. registered company, so I mean, obviously that's kind of easier. But also, since we never hold anyone's money, we're literally available everywhere. So like you can be in the U.S., you can be in Australia, you can be in Africa, in Asia. You can go today to Flash, you can get our wallet, you can create an account, and like we won't block anyone, we won't censor anyone because again, like we don't hold anyone's money, so we're just software. So yeah, we can be everywhere at the same time.
Got it. Yeah. And then the other thing is the integrations, enterprise solutions. I am curious, if we still have a little bit of time left, how do you present the value proposition there? Because still, I think it's very rare that somebody gets excited about Lightning payments. It's just too early. Now there are benefits, right? So you mentioned the for streaming platforms. I think it's super interesting, right? Because that's the native user generation, internet natives, Lightning, Bitcoin Generation B, these kind of people. And I think we've seen great success from companies or stuff like ZBD, right? Or now, I mean, in fact, Rumble, right, has started doing a Lightning wallet with Tether and Bitcoin integrated. So I think it's just a matter of a time until they'll figure it all out. What's your pitch like? What's your value proposition for enterprise?
Yeah, so usually, it depends what we're talking about because we do have solutions like, because a lot of enterprise, they just use, Shopify or OpenCart or stuff like that. And so, the pitch is the same that I would do to others. It's more when they need some custom integrations where then I need to like have more of a targeted pitch. But generally speaking, it's about it's time to take a look at it seriously, and it's time to like have a strategy around it. And if you can do it in a way that it costs you nothing, well, then you should go for it. Like, and the easier it is, just yeah, like it's try to create some FOMO among them, and show that like maybe you don't need it right now, but your customers are more and more looking for such payment solutions. And not only that, um, you can open yourself to the rest of the world more easily because I mean, just there are issues in our fiat payment world, and even for some a company like Netflix. Well, you cannot use Netflix if you don't have a credit card to pay for it. And there's parts of the world where they don't have credit cards, or even like a country like Nigeria, getting a credit card is extremely difficult. And when you get a credit card, it works only in Nigeria, right? And so they're like completely separated from the rest. And so it's a very easy way to like add 1% of like extra revenue to your to your yearly revenue, because you just have a bigger target, a bigger audience. You're opening yourself some more, especially that people that can pay in Bitcoin will want to look for these places where they can pay in Bitcoin, and so you literally bring a new audience to your business, which I think is pretty interesting and pretty refreshing. And so we want to help businesses in that. I mean, obviously, our goal is to make sure that companies, businesses that start using Flash increase their revenue, right? Like that's the only like goal that we have. People need to make money with Flash, and so yeah, we have to help people with that and connecting them with the community as well.
I've heard some rumors that you're working with a indie film platform that allows indie films to stream and host on demand movies. Is that something you can share? And how would that look like?
Yeah, so yeah, the platform is called Indie Hub. It's yeah, created by some guys I've been in touch with for a long time. They were also like partners for the Bitcoin Film Fest last year, and all the films were available there. And yeah, so I'm not sure at what level their subscription with Flash is. I know that definitely the link is out there. I'm not sure how well they've integrated it, but yeah, I know that they want to use that. But we also have another platform that is called My Movies Plus. So this one is through an integration we have with Vimeo OTT, and so they're a streaming platform where there's a bunch of different films, and you can if you go on their website, it's mymoviesplus.com. Well, at the top on their landing page, there'll be a buy in Bitcoin button. And when you click it, it will redirect you to the Flash subscription page. And so they have like two plans, I think, or no, maybe just the one plan. And yeah, it's the same thing. You just connect your wallet, you do the payment. And in this case, so it's a bit different than like typical subscriptions in the sense where you literally create your account with them through our checkout. So you put an email and a password, whereas our other subscriptions don't require the password, just the email, right? So in this case, email, password, and then with these exact same credentials, you can log into My Movies Plus and just enjoy streaming. And the next month it'll be charged automatically. Yeah.
Excellent. So I think the time has come to say goodbye, even though I could go on for longer. And as a startup founder, you need the stamina. So you've proven you can do it almost 3 hours, 2:45, and funnily enough, the numbers of listeners go up in correlation here. But yeah,
Awesome.
it's been an absolutely incredible, fascinating this chat. So thanks, Pierre, for joining in and for all the insights. I think it was really valuable. Maybe to fade out here. So how do you actually keep that fit? So do you have any founder mode secret, or what's your routine like? And any tricks you can share?
Not really. I mean, I do enjoy going for walks early in the morning. So, when I wake up, I do have like a whole routine in terms of a bunch of vitamins I take, probiotics I take, like, yeah, like apple cider vinegar in the morning for like good gut balance and stuff. So, there's all like these health things, definitely. So that's, yeah, a lot of stuff I consume daily. Other than that, yeah, a walk in the morning, I think is kind of the minimum that I try to do daily, where before work, or I've had maybe one call, one meeting, I answered to a few things, and after that go out for a walk, usually up to an hour walk, and I try to do two walks in the day. That's kind of like the minimum effort that I tend to do. But that's, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. But it's about doing it day in and day out, and also I think no freaking out. I'm not a stressed out person usually, and I think this also helps me in yeah, making sure that I stay in good balance.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and please make sure to follow Pierre and check out Flash at paywithflash.com. And yeah, we might see each other again. You, Pierre, hopefully somewhere in the world, and the listeners, hopefully we'll have another chat soon. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Leon. It was, yeah, really good. First time I do a almost 3 hour live stream, and it was yeah, it was really nice, man. Really good conversation. So thanks for organizing it.
Have a really fantastic week ahead. Cheers.
Cheers.